There she is. We've been waiting for like 2 hours. All right, you all set? Good? Okay. All right, let's go back on the record. The record will reflect the presence of all jurors, all counsel, and Mr. Winslow are present. All right, Mr. Owens, you can call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people now call Summer Foster.
All right. And I'll direct any media that's present not to film her face, including still photography. All right? So from the neck down. You can use her name, yes.
If I could ask you to step forward and raise your right hand. Right there is fine. You do solemnly state that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
If you would, please have a seat at the witness stand. And if you would, please state your name and spell your first and last name for the record.
My name is Summer Foster, Foster,
Thank you.
All right, good morning, Miss Foster.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for allowing me to come in.
Well, there's a couple of cameras in the courtroom. I want you to know that they have been ordered not to show your face, okay?
Okay.
And the attorneys have some questions for you. We're going to start first with Mr. Owens.
Alrighty.
All right, direct examination, Mr. Owens.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Foster, I'm going to show you an exhibit, and if I can alert the media to the display of the exhibit, Your Honor. It's been marked and identified as Court's Exhibit 1.
Okay.
Looking at the TV monitor, do you recognize this woman?
Yes, that's my mother.
How old are you?
I am 26.
Can you describe first, do you live in the North County area of San Diego?
Yes, I live in Carlsbad.
Do you live with your mother?
I do not.
Roughly how old is your mother, if you know?
45, 46.
Uh,
We're 14 years? No, she was 29 when she had me, so she's 24, yeah, 46, I think.
So doing the math, she was 29 when she had you. Is she in her mid-50s?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay. Are you a little bit nervous being in court?
Definitely, I've never been to court before. This is weird.
Okay, so just take a moment. I'm going to ask you some questions about what you know about your mother and some of the things that you shared with us, okay?
Okay.
In terms of your relationship with your mother, if she did not live with you, how often would you speak to her?
We speak on the phone almost every day. She usually calls me. I don't call her.
Why do you say it like that?
She's really hard to get a hold of usually.
In March of 2018, were you in regular contact with your mother?
Yes, I was.
Do you recall St. Patrick's Day, March 17th of 2018?
Yes, I do.
Did you talk to your mother that day?
Yes, I had worked earlier that day, and I was going to take the bus to Chili's to meet my husband. My mother and I spoke on the phone.
And do you remember what time of day, or was it, early in the morning, afternoon, evening, do you recall?
It was sometime in the afternoon because I had worked that day, but I know I got off early because I was able to go to dinner.
When you talked to your mother that day, what was the nature of that conversation?
She was upset because someone, one of my family members, was bothering her at the house. So she was telling me that she was going to leave the house and wanted to either go shopping, walk around. She was very stressed out though. And if at the time I had a car, I would have given her a ride.
In terms of what she told you she was planning to do, did she say what part of town she planned to go shopping or hang around?
The 101, she goes there often.
And that 101 area that you're referring to, would that be in the city of Encinitas?
Yes, pretty much between Encinitas Boulevard and Swami's. That's where she usually hangs out.
Is that in Swami's in the south end of the city of Encinitas on Coast Highway?
Correct.
And the 101 would be on Coast Highway, is that right?
Yes.
When you talked to her about what her plans were, did you have any further conversation that evening other than that initial phone conversation?
No.
When was the next time that you saw your mother?
She called me asking me to come over the next day, so I did.
What time, so if we're talking about the next day from St. Patrick's Day, we're talking about March 18th of 2018?
Correct.
What time of day did she call you, if you remember?
I'm not sure.
When she said that she needed you to come over, what did she tell you she needed you to do?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled, subject to a motion to strike. I'll hear the answer. Go ahead.
She didn't specify over the phone.
Can you just describe her tone or her demeanor when she asked you to come over?
No, I'm unfamiliar with what her demeanor was over the phone.
Okay. Was it just a normal phone call as far as you could tell?
Yes, she tells me to come over pretty often. She's vague.
Did you go to her home?
Yes, I went to my grandparents' house. That's where she lives.
You mentioned that there's a family member who had bothered her the day before. Are there other family members besides your mother who live in the home with your grandparents?
Yes, there's quite a few.
Now, in terms of March 18th, when you went over to your grandparents' home, tell us what happened.
So my mom asked me to come into her room
Objection,
and
hearsay.
That statement is not hearsay. The court will allow it. Next, you can go on.
so my mother asked me to go into her room, and what she wanted to discuss was she asked me about,
Hearsay.
Overruled, subject to a motion to strike. I'll hear the answer. Go ahead.
she asked me about STD testing because she knows that I've been tested.
Objection, speculative.
Overruled.
She asked me about STD testing, and I let her know that Planned Parenthood, you could do it for free and it's confidential.
Ms. Foster, when you were having that conversation with her on March 18th, did you see any items of clothing in your mother's bedroom?
Yes, when you walk straight into her room, the door opens and it always gets stuck on her laundry basket. That's to the right, and on top of the pile of the laundry basket there was a pair of white pants.
In terms of your familiarity with your mother, had you ever seen those pants before?
Yes, I have. She wears white pants pretty often.
Did you notice anything about the white pants that were on the top of the laundry basket on March 18th?
They were stained with blood.
Did you see where there was blood on the pants?
It was in the crotch area.
Did you ask your mother about that?
I did, but the way I phrased it was, "Oh, you ruined your pants." And what she replied was, "Yeah, I'm on the rag."
Objection, hearsay, move to strike.
Overruled comes in as a prior inconsistent statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. And when she said that to you, did you ask her any further questions?
No.
When was the next time that you had contact with your mother after March 18th?
It was either the following day or the day right after that. So it was the 19th or the 20th. It was right in there.
How was it that you spoke to your mother on the 19th or the 20th?
She had called me and asked me that she wanted me to look something up for her on the computer.
Is that something that she would regularly ask you to do, help with the computer?
Yes, she does that all the time because she's not familiar with technology.
Did she give you any other details or reason why she needed you to look something up on the computer, at least initially on the phone?
No, not on the phone.
Did you go to help her?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell us what happened when you went to help her now on the following days, either the 19th or the 20th, as you best recall?
She had asked me to look up the phone number for the Encinitas Sheriff's Department.
And did you do that for her?
Yes, I did.
Did you ask her why she needed you to look up the phone number for the Encinitas Sheriff's Department?
Yes, at this point I was a little concerned because of the STD testing mentioned a few days before. So I asked her if everything was okay, and she said, yes, I was attacked, but I'm going to file a police report.
Did you ask her any additional questions about that?
No, I did not.
After she told you that she was attacked and was going to file a police report, why didn't you ask her any questions?
Because I knew she wouldn't answer them.
What do you mean by that?
My mom is not.
Objection. Objection is speculative. It's improper vouching.
Your Honor, goes
Oh,
to...
overruled on both grounds. Go ahead, you can answer, and you can cover it on cross. Go ahead.
My mom is very difficult, and when I ask her personal questions, we always end up in arguments. So to avoid an argument in this situation, I did not ask further questions.
Other than her telling you that she had been attacked and was going to file a police report, did you have any other conversations with her about what happened prior to her calling you and asking for your help?
No.
Now, as of last week, had you had any conversations with your mother about anything that may have happened to her on St. Patrick's Day? Other than the initial discussion we just talked about.
Yes, when I saw on the news her testimony the next morning, so that was Wednesday morning, I went over to her house and she took me to get gas. And the way I phrased it was, so Mom, I saw you on TV yesterday. And she denied it.
So let me ask you about what you just mentioned. First of all, right now, are you employed?
I am not.
Are you expecting?
Yes, I am.
Objection. It's not relevance.
What's the last question, whether she's expecting or not? Sustained, the motion, or you have an offer of proof?
Only as it relates to what she was doing at the time when she learned of the incident.
Relevance.
All right.
Objection, relevance.
The objection is sustained. The answer as to whether or not she was expecting will be stricken. The jury will disregard it. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Were you at home last week?
Yes, the whole week.
Okay. Now, in terms of Tuesday, were you watching TV?
Yes, I was.
When you mentioned that you saw something on the news, what do you recall seeing on the news last Tuesday?
It was the evening news, and it was just a short clip of the trial and my mother's testimony, so I immediately went on my phone to look up what was happening.
Prior to last Tuesday, did you have any idea that your mother was involved in a sexual assault prosecution?
I did not.
When you were watching the news that day, how did you know that your mother was involved?
Because she speaks in a very distinctive tone, and her body language and her little braid that she had, she wears her hair like that all the time.
Did you see the news coverage that actually showed testimony from your mother in this trial?
Yes, I did.
What were you thinking when you saw that your mother was involved in this prosecution?
I was angry that she didn't let me know what was going on, because I would have been here every single day standing by her, and
Objection, relevance.
Overruled. You can continue.
I would have come forward with my information sooner had I known that she was involved in court at all.
Now, you mentioned that after seeing that on the news, you then went to your phone and tried to get more information. Did you do that?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember what information you were able to locate, meaning the sources of information that you then found on the internet?
There were multiple news articles, but where I was able to watch her actual full testimony was on the Court TV website.
Did you in fact watch the entirety of your mother's testimony? Or what was shown?
Yes, what was shown.
Do you know whether or not that was all of it or not?
I don't know if it was all of it.
Now, so this happened on Tuesday evening. Did you try to reach out to your mother that night?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Honestly, I was in so much shock, and I was having so many different emotions that I knew that I would see her the next day, so I just let myself spiral and dwell on it and stay up all night.
When you talked to her about it the next day, did you try to let her know how this had impacted you?
Objection. Relevance.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
I didn't say anything about how I was feeling, but I was crying and being very aggressive towards her because I am a very emotional person.
When you talked to her about it, did she deny that she had been the person who testified?
Yes, she did deny it.
What did you do after that conversation with your mother?
We got donuts, and then I dropped her off at Walmart, and then I went home and I called you.
How were you able to find my contact information?
I saw your name on the Court TV website, and I looked up Dan Owens, District Attorney.
And did you in fact leave a voicemail for me around noon of last Wednesday?
Yes.
And did an investigator from the district attorney's office, and Chris Phelan, did he contact you immediately that afternoon?
Yes, he did.
And did he meet with you and record his interview with you?
Yes, he did.
Was the first time that you and I met in person actually this past Friday?
I believe so.
Was it just a couple days ago?
Yeah, it was a couple days ago.
Now, in terms of the information that you learned from the internet, without getting into what you actually read, based upon your knowledge of your mother and how it is that you relate to her, was the fact that she never told you about this, was that a surprise to you?
No.
Why not?
Objection. Relevance.
Overruled.
She's, I don't like saying this because it's my mom, but she's extremely paranoid to the point where she doesn't trust the people closest to her. And so just for the sake of her own boundaries, I try not to push her.
Is that why you never asked her any more questions when she said she was going to file a report about being attacked?
Yes, and then also, no offense to the police department, but I really didn't think this was gonna go anywhere.
Objection.
What's the objection? What's the legal grounds?
It's non-responsive.
Overruled. The answer will stand.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, I just have a quick question. There was an order not to show your mother's face on TV. Did you see her face on TV?
No, I saw her little braid and I heard her voice.
Okay, so it was a shot from the neck down,
Yeah.
correct? And you
Correct.
heard her voice?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. All right. All right, cross-examination.
Yeah, your mom is extremely paranoid.
Yes, she is.
Extremely paranoid. I mean, you use those terms.
Yes, she's extremely paranoid.
Worried about people, you know.
Yeah, she
strangers.
doesn't have any friends.
Doesn't have any friends,
No.
right? And she's worried about strangers, apparently.
She's worried about strangers listening into her conversation. She's not worried about strangers talking to her.
Has your mom been treated, is she being treated for any mental illness that you're
Objection,
aware of?
relevance to
All right, goes-
foundation calls for speculation.
Sustained, you need not answer that question. Next
Let
question.
me ask you this. You saw your mom's testimony on TV, right?
Yes.
And it's your testimony that you never even suspected your mom was a alleged victim in this case, right?
I did not.
Right? And so you saw your mom on TV the night before, right?
Correct.
On the news, right?
Yes, correct.
And you saw her being cross-examined.
Yes.
Okay.
That was not on the news though. I saw that on Court TV separately when I looked it up.
Right, that's what I'm getting to. You saw your mom on the news. You had no question in your mind that was your mom, correct?
Correct.
And then you looked up things on the internet, right?
Correct.
About the case.
Yes,
You
I
read
wanted to know what was going on.
You read articles about what Mr. Winslow was accused of doing, correct?
Correct.
You read articles about, what his potential defenses were, I take it?
Yeah, yes, correct.
And you read articles about what some of the other victims may have said, correct?
Correct.
And so, armed with that information, then you took the additional step, and then you went to Court TV, correct?
Correct.
And how did you know to go to Court TV?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Who told you to go to Court TV?
The internet?
The internet said go to Court TV?
Well, I wanted to watch the testimony, and that's where it was available.
Okay, so you download the testimony, you got to watch your mom testify, right?
Correct.
In addition to that, there was, did you see the breaks where there's lawyers that are commenting on the testimony?
Yes, I did watch those.
And you no doubt watched those lawyers talk about how non-credible your mother was, right?
Yes, I did.
You saw some people saying about your mom being caught in lies. You saw that, right?
Yes, I am aware of that.
And you saw people commenting about how detrimental that testimony was to the prosecution. You saw that, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay, and that made you upset, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Okay, because this is your mom, right?
Yes, it is.
But you saw that she clearly lied to this jury during her testimony. You saw that, didn't you?
Yes, she lied about her alcoholism.
Straight up, she said that she doesn't drink. Correct? You saw
Correct.
that?
I saw it.
She had
Wait,
drinking
just a
30
moment, just a moment. Let's slow down the pace. I just asked you to make sure she's finished with her answer before you ask the next question, just for the benefit of the court reporter. So go ahead.
She told this jury that she hadn't drank for 30 years. You saw that, right?
Yes,
That's a flat-out lie, isn't it?
it is.
You saw your mom take an oath to tell the truth.
Objection argumentative.
Cross-examination.
Overruled.
You saw that, right?
Yes,
Right? To tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
yes,
So help me God. Correct?
correct.
And then she looked at this jury and lied. Yes?
Yes, about her alcoholism.
She told this jury that she was going to go down to the 101 to go shopping that day. Remember that?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And you said that, that she's made some similar comment to you about walking down to the 101. Yes? Is
Yes,
that what she does normally?
that is what she does almost every day.
Okay. She goes walking.
Yes. She does not drive, and a lot of the time she refuses to take the bus.
And when you say she hangs out, what does she do down there, if you know?
She goes shopping. She likes to shop and look around.
Where?
Flashbacks, Thrifty Threads. There's other small boutiques down there that she likes to check out, Detour, things like that.
Did you ask her whether after you saw her, when she said that she was going to go shopping, did you ask her what she bought?
No, I did not.
So she regularly walks the streets of Encinitas, is what you're saying, correct?
Yes.
All right. And let me ask you this: does she hitchhike often?
I am not sure. She has never mentioned it.
I mean, it's something you might know as your daughter, right?
It would be if she had mentioned it, but she's not mentioned hitchhiking to me ever.
Ever? She mentioned being a victim of a kidnapping or actually a sexual assault as a result of kidnapping.
No, she used the words attacked.
No, in the past. Did she say that she's ever been assaulted after hitchhiking?
No, she has not said anything like that to me.
Never told you anything about that?
No.
Never related a story about her when she was like 12 years old being essentially picked up, kidnapped?
No,
Assaulted?
she's not said that to me before, ever. I don't know much about my mother's past at all.
Never asked her about your mother's past? Are you close? Let me strike that. Put that
Hang on, one question at a
I
time.
know. That's why I stopped. I saw the court reporter looking at me.
Okay, next question.
Are you close to your mother?
We shared a room until I was 16. Yes, we are very close.
Okay. You're very close to your mother. You clearly love your mother,
I do.
right? And so one of your reasons for actually calling the district attorney just last week, after having read the news, watched court TV, watched all the commentary, and then watched my cross-examination of your mother, was because you were angry at what was happening to your mother, right?
Yes, I was upset.
Okay, so you have no way, other than what your mother told you, to verify anything what she's saying is true. Isn't that true?
Correct.
Right? You saw, just conveniently, there was a pair of white pants on top of the basket.
Objection argumentative.
Sustained, you can rephrase, you don't need to answer that question.
You
Go ahead.
You walk by the laundry room and there
It wasn't the laundry room.
her bedroom?
Yes, it's in her bedroom.
And it was on top of all the dirty clothes were her white pants.
Correct.
Okay? And you said that it appeared to you like she had her period.
Correct. This has happened before. She has a heavy flow.
Okay? And you heard her testimony during the trial, right? Remember
Yes.
that? Where she said as a result of the sex, she was gushing blood. You remember that?
Yes.
And she said that she wasn't on her period. Remember that?
Yes.
And then later on cross-examination, she said she might have been on her period. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
Okay. And then she said from her earlier, she agreed that in earlier comments to police that she said she wasn't menstruating. Remember that?
Yes.
So when you told your mother, you know your mother, right?
Correct.
You said that you've seen your mother, I guess stain her pants before?
Yes.
So
I've also stained my pants before. It's a common thing that happens with women.
I'm asking you about your mother, not women, your mother. Do you understand me?
Yes,
So,
I do.
You've seen this happen before,
Yes.
right? And so you see the amount of stains they could leave because she wears white pants, right?
Yes.
Have you seen her with the white pants before? Have you seen the stains on white pants before?
I have not seen stains on white pants before.
But in your mind, there was, when you saw the stained pants, it was consistent with having been menstruating.
Yes.
Okay? And you told that to your mom, right? And
Yes.
she didn't deny it.
She did not deny it.
Okay. Did she say that that's what happened?
She was the one who said, "I'm on the rag," because I pointed out that she ruined her pants.
So then, the next day, by the way, when she said that she ruined her pants, she just kind of responded real quickly to you?
Yes.
She didn't think about, it didn't take her 10 minutes to respond. She just quickly said, no, that was it, right?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. And you had no reason to be concerned at all.
No, I did not.
Okay. So the next day, though, you said she calls you and that she needs some help getting on the computer.
Correct.
So it's your testimony, your mom, who's 55 years old, has never used the computer?
She has used the computer, she's just bad at it.
Right, so you move an icon to Safari or to the internet. I'm assuming she can do that, right?
Yes, but
Okay.
poorly.
Right. She can put an icon on the internet. Yes or no?
Wait, do you understand the question? Putting an icon on the internet?
Like move the mouse,
Right.
is that what he's saying?
With the arrow,
And
click
click it,
it, and you get the
yes.
Okay, so you're not telling this jury that she's never done that before, right?
She has done that before, yes.
Okay.
She has used a computer before.
And you've seen her on the keyboard,
Yes,
and she does know the alphabet.
yes,
So S, D, T, San Diego, is something that she could have done, right?
correct.
Right. But she needed your help.
Yes, she did.
Same thing with the San Diego County Sheriff. It's your testimony that she was unable to find that information herself and she had to call you to help.
I'm not sure why she asked me to, but yes, she asked me to look it up for her.
Okay. And your mom certainly knows that there is information on the phone. You would agree?
What do you mean on the phone?
Pick her phone up and ask for information.
No, I don't think she knows that.
So
Like, are you saying like 411 or something?
or whatever, or even use her phone to get it.
She doesn't have a smartphone. She uses a flip phone.
All right. She knows certainly 911, right?
Yes.
We agree. All right. So your mom, who's incapable of writing SDT, incapable of using the internet, calls you for help. And what do?
I look it up for her.
Okay.
We were in her room and I looked it up on my phone because the computer is in my grandparents' room.
Okay. And she told you to look up the sheriff's after she told you that she was attacked? Or was it?
No, I looked up the sheriff's department. I asked her what's going on and she said she was attacked and she's going to file a police report.
And then you said, Mom, what happened? Right?
No, I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "Yes, I'm fine."
And then you said, Mom, what happened?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I mean, your mom, this is the person you're really close to, right?
Yes.
16 years living in one bedroom together, correct?
Correct.
She's told you she's been attacked, right?
Yes.
And you don't have to say what happened?
No, I don't.
Okay. So you assist her in finding the number for the police, right?
Yes, for the specific Encinitas Sheriff's Department.
Let me ask you this. If your mom got attacked, why didn't you pick up the phone there and call the police yourself?
I'm not sure.
Okay, if your mom had all these issues, like you're saying, she's paranoid, she is non-communicative, why didn't you pick up the phone yourself and call the police? You.
Because I do not trust the police, which is what she has always taught me, because she is constantly getting arrested by the police.
So she's being harassed by the police? For what?
For her alcoholism, she gets in trouble a lot.
Okay. She gets in trouble for her alcoholism a lot?
Yes, when she gets drunk, she does not know how to talk to people, and she often gets into situations where the police are involved.
And by how often are you talking about? Quite a bit?
Usually it's around Christmas, because that's when her birthday is, and it's a hard time for her.
Okay. So you don't trust the police because they are arresting her for being intoxicated in public? Is that a pretty much a fair statement?
Exactly.
But what does that have to do with trust? I mean, if she is intoxicated in public and they're effectuating arrest, why is it that you don't trust them?
Because I've seen the police arrest my mom numerous times. It's hard to trust people who take your mom away.
Okay. How many times have you seen your mom arrested?
Honestly, I don't know.
I mean, was it 5 times, 10 times, 20 times?
I can recollect twice.
Twice. Okay, and based on 2 arrests for your mom being intoxicated that you saw, right? These are things that you physically saw. Right?
Yes.
That's where you are basing your, I guess, impression that police are not to be trusted.
Correct.
All right? And for that reason, it is for that reason, and I'm not talking about your mom, I'm talking about you. When your mom tells you that she had been attacked, you, because your mom had been arrested for being drunk in public before, and you've witnessed that, you decide that you're not going to follow up and call the police for her. Isn't that true?
Correct, because she told me that she was filing a police report.
Yeah, but you know your mom, you just told this jury that you know your mom was non-communicative, right? Communicative.
Correct.
And you said that she's paranoid.
Correct.
And now you said that she's also gets intoxicated, and sometimes, I mean, she gets intoxicated, right?
Correct.
She's an alcoholic by your own words.
Correct.
So you chose not to follow up. You let your mom do it, right?
Yes, I
Okay.
did.
Got it. So then you let it rest, and you didn't follow up on any of that for months.
No, I never brought it up again until I saw her testify on TV.
Well, there was something else in between there, wasn't there?
Yes, she had mentioned to me during the summertime when I was going out, she had mentioned to me one night that I should be extra careful because a high school football player was released on bail.
Wasn't it more like there was a black pro football
Yeah.
player?
No, she did not use the word pro. She said black high school football player. And the reason why I remember it so specifically is because at D Street Bar that night, there was a young black man wearing a varsity jacket, and I thought it was coincidental.
You basically saw a black man, and you thought...
In a varsity jacket.
Okay.
After my mother had said to me that a black high school football player had been released from jail, yeah.
Okay. Who was attacking women.
Who was attacking women, correct.
So your mom, but she specifically made sure that you understood it was a black player, right?
That's what she said,
And then
yes.
so you were in a bar and you remember that because you saw...
A black guy
A lone
with a
black
varsity
guy.
jacket.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So then there's no more contact with your mother about this at all.
No,
She said nothing in between St. Patrick's Day of 2018 actually, until you confronted her, she said nothing about this incident whatsoever.
No, she did not.
Right? In fact, when you even asked her whether that was her testifying, she denied it to you.
Correct.
Right? Did you say, I saw you on TV?
Yes, I did.
And she still said no, it wasn't
She
me.
still said no, it wasn't me.
Yeah. You said, but wait, I watched it on court TV. I watched your entire testimony for hours. You told her that, right?
No, I did not.
All right. You said you saw her testimony.
Yes,
I take it.
I called her out and said that I saw her on TV.
Right. And she still denied
And
it.
she denied it.
And then, once again, we're going back to you downloaded the testimony, you got to watch it, and what you said was you were very upset, couldn't sleep, right?
Correct.
You couldn't sleep because it says you said you didn't call your mom, you got emotional, you went spiral downward, you stayed up all night.
Correct.
Right? Just thinking about this, right?
Yes, correct.
So you were thinking about her being cross-examined, right? You
Yes.
were thinking about her being called a liar by me.
No, that was not what I was
That
thinking
wasn't-
about.
You weren't upset about that?
Yes, I was upset, but that wasn't what I was focused on.
You were upset at her testimony being ridiculed, or actually not ridiculed, but basically commented on for being unreliable.
Yes, that is what I was upset about.
Hugely upset about it. Yes? Very upset about it.
Yes.
Upset enough to lose sleep over it, right?
It wasn't the actual being upset with you that I was upset about. It was the whole situation that my mother was involved in a very serious trial where she was raped. That's what I was staying up thinking about.
Right, you were staying up that she's alleging that she was raped, and that you saw her testimony, and she appeared from all what you watched to be not reliable because she in fact lied to the jury.
Objection
correct?
misstates the evidence and argumentative.
Sustained, you can rephrase.
Okay. You were upset because your mom's testimony, or at least the commentary you saw, had been termed unreliable. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And you were upset because at least a couple of the commentators indicated that she'd been caught in a lie. Isn't that true?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
Yes.
Those are the
Well, just
motivated.
a minute. You don't need.
Oh, sorry.
So you didn't need to answer. That last answer will be stricken. Next question.
Those are the motivating factors that caused you to pick up a phone just last week on a Thursday, whenever it was. You called the DA's office, right?
Yes, because I had information about the STD testing and I did not hear anything about that.
By the way, I sent my investigator over to talk to you, or to contact you to do an interview with you yesterday. Remember that?
Yes, he called me at like 8 p.m.
Right. And he asked you, hey, we're just trying to find the truth. We want to talk to you. And you refused to speak to my investigator.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
He had all weekend to call me or come see me, and he calls me at 8 p.m. when I'm getting ready to go to bed. Yeah, no, I was not going to speak with him. I'm sorry.
You refused to speak to the defense investigator, yes or no?
Yes.
All right. You actually went over to the DA's office, or did they go to you?
I came to the DA's office,
Yeah.
yes.
You got in a car and you drove yourself to the prosecution's office, correct?
Yes.
And you gave your version of events to Mr. Owens and his investigators,
Yes.
right? And then a simple phone call where you're at your house, we ask you to talk to us, and you choose not to.
Correct.
You remember what you said to the investigator?
I said to him that he could hear what I had to say in court.
And the investigator told you, we're just trying to find the truth. Remember that?
I don't remember that, but yes.
You just basically shut him down.
Yes, I did.
One moment, Your Honor.
All right. All right. Redirect, and I will allow inquiry as to whether or not she's expecting at this point based on cross. So you can go ahead.
Thank you. Are you?
Yes.
Is that why you were home last week?
Yes.
In part, at least.
Yeah.
Now, I just have some very limited questions. On Thursday of last week, did I inform you that based upon the fact that you had come forward and been interviewed by a district attorney investigator that I had to provide your contact information to the defense team and their investigator?
Yes, you did.
After we met on Friday morning of last week, did you in fact say that you preferred to meet at our office for your own privacy?
Yes, I did.
And did you come down and meet with me and my investigator in a conference room?
Yes, I did.
And do you recall on Friday when I informed you that the defense investigator would have your address and be able to contact you if they chose?
Yes.
Nothing further going.
All right. Any recross based on that? All right. Can this witness be excused?
Yes, you may.
All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Foster, you are excused. Have a nice day. Thank you very much. Next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I could check the hallway just
All
for
right.
a moment. People now call Elizabeth Winters.
All right.
If I can have you raise your right hand. You do solemnly state that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? If you would, please have a seat at the witness stand. And if you would, please state your name and spell your first and last name for the record.
My name is Elizabeth Winters. It's Elizabeth. Last name Winters, Winters.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning, Ms. Winters.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. I can already tell you have a very soft voice, so I'm going to ask you to scoot the seat forward and pull that microphone forward, the top one there. And please make sure you keep your voice up. I'll turn your mic up as far as I can, but the juror at the far end of the jury box, which is pretty far away, needs to be able to hear everything you say. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Winters.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming to court.
Mhm.
Can you tell us what part of town, not the specific address, what part of town do you live in?
It's considered the San Carlos area of San
Okay.
Diego.
And where would that be in relation to freeways, for example?
You can get on the 125 from there really easily. And the 52 is north of us and the 8 is south of us.
In terms of your neighborhood, are you pretty familiar with the surrounding area and the vehicles that may be associated with your neighbors?
Yes.
On June 14th of 2018, did two San Diego Sheriff's Department detectives come to your home and talk to you?
Yes,
Did they ask you questions about a vehicle that was in the neighborhood?
they did.
Do you remember seeing a car that didn't seem to belong in your neighborhood?
Once they mentioned the car, I said yes, I had noticed it, and it didn't seem familiar to me.
What type of vehicle was it?
It's a Hummer.
Do you remember what color it was?
It was dark. It's been almost a year, so I'm not 100% sure, but it was a dark vehicle.
And do you remember telling the detectives when you first saw the vehicle or first noticed it in your neighborhood?
I don't recall exactly what I said, but I do remember like that at the time I had noticed it very specifically. because the school year was ending and we had a lot of unusual people, you know, like family visiting for 5th grade, graduation ceremonies and things like that. So I just kind of noticed it and thought perhaps that's why it was there.
Did you tell them the day that you had first noticed that it was there, if you recall?
I think it had been there for a day or two. I don't recall exactly at this time.
And that would be as of June 14th, when you were speaking to the detectives?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right.
Had you in fact lived in that neighborhood for approximately 20 years?
Yes.
And had you ever seen that vehicle in that neighborhood before?
No.
When you were speaking to the detectives, were you present when they in fact impounded the vehicle?
I did see that out my window, yes.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, Cross?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Winters, the Hummer, it was parked legally on the street, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that a yes?
Sorry, yes.
Okay.
You didn't call the police regarding this vehicle, did you?
I did not.
It was just a vehicle parked legally on the street, right?
Correct.
The police approached you and asked you about that vehicle, right?
Right, they knocked on my door.
Okay. And you don't keep track of all the vehicles that are in or about your neighborhood, do you?
I know which ones are my neighbors' vehicles,
Right.
and we have a lot of school traffic because I live across from an elementary school.
Right.
So I notice it. I mean, I've got young kids, so I kind of keep an eye, but I don't make note or record or call the police on unless they were doing something, you know, like blocking my driveway or something like that.
This vehicle wasn't blocking your driveway?
No, it's in
And you
front of
don't-
my house.
And you don't keep track of your neighbors' friends and visitors' vehicles, do you?
Not unless they're there for an extended period of time.
Right. So all you know that there's a vehicle parked in your neighborhood, legally parked,
Yes.
and the police came and talked to you about it?
Yes.
Nothing further.
All right, anything further?
No, thank you.
Can this witness be excused?
She may.
Yes?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Ms. Winters. Have a nice day. Next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people now call Jane Doe No. 4.
All right. Again, the media is ordered not to photograph Jane Doe No. 4's face, either still or with motion cameras. All right, bring her in.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
Ma'am, if I could ask you to raise your right hand. You do solemnly state that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. And if I could ask of Deputy DA Owens, the person sitting at the witness stand is indeed Jane Doe No. 4?
She is.
Thank you.
All right, good morning, ma'am. I'm going to ask you to scoot your seat forward and pull that tall microphone down
This one.
and maybe pull it closer to you if you can.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you to make sure you keep your voice up.
Okay.
All right, so all the jurors in the jury box all the way at the very end can hear you.
Okay.
And I've already turned the microphone up, so just make sure you keep your voice up, okay?
Okay.
Now, as you know, you're going to be referred to as Jane Doe No. 4.
Okay.
Nobody will use your true name, and the cameras that are in the courtroom have been ordered not to display images of your face.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
Not.
All right. Well, the attorneys are going to start with their question now. Mr. Owens, direct examination.
Okay.
Thank you, Your
And
Honor.
look, if you ever need to take a break, just let me know.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Owens.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Jane Doe number 4.
Good morning.
I'm going to refer to you possibly as Ms. Doe during the course of your testimony. I apologize for the, if that makes you uncomfortable in any way.
Okay.
Now, how old are you as of today?
I am 33.
Where do you live? Without giving the specific address, but generally speaking, where do you live?
In Jacksonville, North Carolina.
Are you married?
Yes.
What does your husband do?
He is a Marine. He is in the aviation field.
Are you stationed there with the Marine Corps currently?
Yes. Yes.
Do you have any children?
I do.
How many children do you have?
I have 2.
What are their ages?
1 and 3.
Now, in terms of where you've lived over the course of your life, at some point, did you live in the San Diego area?
I did.
Did you move out of the San Diego area after high school?
Yes.
Where did you move?
Hawaii.
And after being in Hawaii, is that where you met your husband?
Yes.
Being a military wife, have you moved around a lot?
Yes.
In terms of where you lived in high school, first, what high school did you go to?
I went to 2 different high schools. I went to Mount Carmel and Escondido High School.
When you were a senior in high school, or your last year here in California, what high school were you going to?
Escondido High School.
So, in terms of when you were in Escondido High School, can I just take a moment?
Yes.
Sorry.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. When you were at Escondido High School, did you still stay friends with people that you had met who went to Mount Carmel or other high schools in the area?
Yes.
Now, when was it that you moved to Hawaii in relation to your senior year?
July of 2003.
How old were you in June of 2003?
17.
Had you already planned to move to Hawaii that summer?
Yes.
What was the reason that you would be moving to Hawaii that summer?
I was behind a semester in my senior year, and because I would be turning 18 over the summer, the Escondido district stated that I would have to go to adult education and get my GED, and I wanted my diploma. So my mom suggested me going to stay with family in Hawaii.
Is that what you ended up doing in July 2003?
Yes.
So in terms of the last year that you were physically here in California, is it fair to say that was the spring semester of 2003?
Yes.
During that time frame, did you ever meet a person who you came to know by the name of Kellen Winslow?
Yes.
Do you see Mr. Winslow in court?
Yes.
Where is he seated and what is he wearing for the record?
He's wearing a gray suit and glasses.
All right, with the yellowish tie?
I can only see the monitor.
Okay, that's right, okay, so he has glasses on. All right, the record will reflect identification of the defendant.
Thank you,
Yes.
Your Honor. How did you first meet Mr. Winslow?
Through mutual friends at a
Where?
party.
Where was this party when you first met him?
A Scripps Ranch.
Can you just describe the party as best you can? I know it's been some time, but when you first met him, just describe the location and what was going on.
So it's just a house party, high school kids hanging out in somebody's home.
And you mentioned it was in the Scripps Ranch area. Do you remember what type of house it was when you first met him?
It was like a ranch house, just 1-story home.
About how many people would you say were at the party?
More than 20, I would like to say.
Were you drinking that night?
No.
On the night that you first met Mr. Winslow, who were the mutual friends, if you remember what their names were?
So Nikki Edwards, Chris Rios, and Mel John Sebastian.
And
Yeah.
the person that you mentioned is Nikki Edwards. Is that Nicole Edwards?
Yes.
Does she go by the nickname Nikki?
Yes.
And the other person you mentioned was Chris. Do you recall his last name?
Rios.
And you mentioned another male. What was his name?
Mel John.
Can you spell that?
Meljohn.
And on that time when you first met him, how is it that you knew these mutual friends?
Well, Nikki, I went to school with at Mount Carmel before going to Escondido High School, so we had been friends since freshman year. She was seeing Mel John at the time, or talking, and Mel John's sister was the one that was dating Chris Rios.
And did you know Mel John or Chris very well?
No,
Was Nicole or Nikki the person who was kind of the mutual friend in common?
yes.
And how was it that you were introduced to Mr. Winslow that night?
He was hanging out with Chris Rios and Mel John.
And was that the first time you had ever actually seen him?
Yes.
Did you know anything about him when you met him that night?
No.
Did you know what school he went to?
No.
Did you know if he was in high school or college?
No.
How was it that you were introduced to him?
We were all just standing around and saying hi, who are you? Just mutual introduction.
Do you remember if he introduced himself to you?
I don't remember.
Then tell us what happened after you first met him that night at the party with about 20 people there.
We were all just hanging out, chit-chatting, drinking, just talking and having fun, hanging out with people.
Now, initially you said that you hadn't been drinking. Was that at the time that you had first met Mr. Winslow?
Yeah, I hadn't been drinking. Nicole and I know Mel John had been drinking.
Later into the evening, do you remember if you had any alcohol?
No, I did not.
After you guys were hanging out at this, the first house party, what happened?
We ended up going to one of Chris and Kellen's friend's house
And do you remember what part of town that was in?
in Scripps.
Do you remember what month this was that you first met Kellen at this party, this first night?
In June.
And was it towards the end of the school year?
Yes.
And was there any particular occasion for this, this first party that you met him at?
I believe it was a graduation party. We would all hear about certain people's graduation parties, but not necessarily know who the person was.
When you would make plans to go out for the evening, would you basically just go look for whatever party you could find as a high schooler?
Yeah.
And as you were leaving this first party, you mentioned you were going to a house that Mr. Winslow and Chris knew of, is that right?
Correct.
Did Miss Edwards, Nikki Edwards, did she go with you?
Yes.
Can you tell us if you remember how you got from the first party to the next house?
We were in Nikki's vehicle and we just followed them.
You remember what type of car Nikki drove?
She drove a Ford Explorer.
And when you say that you followed them, who is it that you and Nikki followed?
Me and Nikki and Mel John was in the car with us, followed Chris and Kellen. And I don't know who else was in the car with them.
And what type of place did you go to after you followed them?
To somebody's two-story home.
Was that also in Scripps Ranch?
Correct.
Did you know whose home it was?
I did not.
When you got there, was anybody present?
Yes,
How many people would you say were at this second home that you went to?
a handful.
A smaller gathering maybe than the first party?
Yes,
Would you characterize it as an after party?
correct.
What time in the evening would you say this was approximately?
Past 11 o'clock at night.
When you and Nikki got there, do you remember where you went?
We were hanging out, I want to say in like the living room. We were just sitting around, hanging out.
Who was there in the living room when you were hanging out?
Me, Nikki, Mel John, Chris, Kellen. I don't know who else the other people were.
Do you remember any of the names of the other people who were present?
His friend Matt,
And when you say his friend, who are you referring to?
Kellen.
Can you just describe your interactions with Kellen over the course of the night, from when you first met him now to the point where you're hanging out in the living room?
Just, I want to say like light flirting, like, you know, sitting close, nudging each other, just kind of being silly, flirty teenagers.
When you had met him, did you think he was attractive?
Yes.
When you say that you were flirty, were you being flirtatious with him?
Not initially.
Was he being flirtatious with you?
Yes.
Once he had started to be flirtatious with you, did you respond?
Yes.
Is that what you mean by not initially?
Yes.
So when you say that you were being flirtatious, what were you doing?
Just nudging back, you know, leaning in, not anything like, hey, we should blah, blah, blah. Just, you know, kind of being nudgy and touchy, like with my arm.
Were there other people around when you were hanging out in the living room doing that?
Yes.
What happened after you started with this initial being flirty?
I don't know specific words or how it came to, but me and him ended up walking upstairs to a bedroom.
Did you go on your own free will?
Yes.
Did you decide you wanted to go upstairs with him?
Yes.
Tell us what happened when you went upstairs with him.
We started making out. Clothes started to be removed. We were kissing, touching, starting to have sex, and the door opened.
When you say that we were starting to have sex, did you actually begin to have sex with Mr. Winslow?
Yes.
Does that mean penile vaginal intercourse?
Yes.
Were you basically hooking up with somebody you had just met?
Yes.
Now, after that happened, the door opening, what do you remember seeing?
His friend Matt walking in.
And the friend Matt, did you know that person from before?
No.
Had you ever seen him before?
No.
Other than seeing him at the this after party, the house that you were at, was he at the previous party, if you know?
Not that I remember.
What happened after Matt walked into the bedroom?
He walked in as if he was grabbing something and just closed the door behind him, and I was like covering myself. And I was like, well, like, what's going on? And Kellen says he's just gonna watch. And I said I'm not okay with that.
What happened after you told Kellen that you weren't okay with Matt being in the room and watching?
He was like, it's gonna be fine, he's just watching. I told him, no, I'm not okay with it. So I was starting to grab my clothes to put them back on, and I just wanted to get out of the room.
Were you upset?
Yes.
What happened, or in terms of Matt, was he still present in the room when you were having this conversation with Kellen, if you remember?
Yes.
Who left the room first?
Matt did.
And after you told Kellen that you were uncomfortable with it, did he try to continue to have sex with you?
He said, are you gonna let me finish? I said no.
And what happened after that?
He said fine. And I put my clothes back on, and I went back downstairs.
Can you describe his demeanor when you told him that you were not gonna let him finish?
He just was like, okay, and like just pushed back, just like away from me.
Who left the room first between you and Mr. Winslow?
I did.
Do you remember where you went?
I went back downstairs.
Where downstairs did you go after this initial upstairs moment with Mr. Winslow?
Back into the living room where Nikki was.
Where was Nikki in relation to the living room? What was she doing?
She was sitting on the couch.
Do you remember who else was there?
I don't.
So what did you do when you saw Nikki on the couch?
I sat down next to her.
Can you describe your demeanor at that point?
Just like annoyed and wanting to leave.
When you say that you were wanting to leave, what did you say, if anything?
I just asked Nikki, could we go?
How did she respond, if you know?
She just looked at me like, why? Could we just go?
How long would you say you had been at this second house that first night?
From the beginning or from less than an hour?
Now, when you told Nikki that you wanted to go, what did she do?
She was like, okay, we'll go, we'll leave.
Did you?
Yes.
Did you say anything else to Mr. Winslow that night?
No.
Do you remember if he was downstairs when you and Nikki left?
I don't remember.
Did you say anything to anybody else before you left?
No.
Did Nikki appear to be confused?
Yes.
When you left that night, where did you go?
We went back to Nicole's house.
Did you sleep there?
Yes.
Did you talk to her at all, if you remember, about what happened?
No. I just told her it just was not okay, and that was it.
Now, was Ms. Edwards, Nikki, was she in the living room when you and Kellen left together to go upstairs?
Yes.
Would she have seen that you and Kellen went upstairs together?
Yes.
Would she have seen when you came back down by yourself?
Yes.
Now, after that first night when you met Mr. Winslow, did you see him again?
Yes.
Approximately how much time passed before you saw Mr. Winslow again after this first night?
Like 2 weeks.
Did you have any communication with him, phone calls or text messages at all?
I did not.
And if the first night was in June of 2003, when was the second night? Do you recall
In June as well.
do you remember what day of the week it was?
A Friday.
Do you recall the specific date?
I want to say the 20th.
And in terms of when that happened, did you actually speak with the district attorney's investigators at your home in North Carolina last July?
Yes.
And when we were sitting down and discussing the time frames, did you use a calendar to refresh your recollection of when you first met him and when the second interaction you had with him was?
Yes.
Now, is that how you arrived at the date of June 20th based on your best recollection?
Yes.
Now, the second night, had you talked to anybody about what happened with Mr. Winslow the first night?
No.
Did you have any interaction with him at all?
No.
Where were you when you saw him on June 20th of 2003?
We were at a graduation party in Scripps Ranch.
Was it a similar situation to the first time you had met him?
Yes.
Do you remember, was it at the same house or a different one?
A different home.
How was it that you had come to know that there was going to be a party at this home on June 20th?
A lot of us teenagers would hang out at Jack in the Box in Mira Mesa and kind of like wait around until somebody got a phone call to where they would hear a party was or who could go to certain parties, and that's where we found out about this party in Scripps.
When you were at the Jack in the Box and you were waiting to hear where a party might be, who was there with you, if you remember?
Me and Nicole.
Were you and Nicole typically a pair? You would be going out together?
Yes.
When you were at the Jack in the Box, did you catch word that there was a party?
She did, yes.
So what did you do?
We got into her car and drove to whatever direction that were given to her.
Did other people that were at the Jack in the Box also go?
Yes.
This party that you were at on June 20th, how many people would you say were there?
About 20 people, at least 20.
That night, when you got to this party, were you drinking any alcohol?
Yes.
Do you remember how many, or what you were drinking, first of all?
I was drinking beer.
Do you remember what type of beer?
No.
Where did you get the beer?
There was a keg at the home.
Do you remember how many beers that you would have drank while you were at this house in Scripps Ranch?
I want to say like 3, 2 or 3.
Can I ask you first how tall you were maybe in June of 2003?
5'2",
And how much did you weigh when you were 17 back in 2003?
92 pounds.
After having those 3 beers, did you start to feel the effects of alcohol at all?
Not like instantly as if I were taking a shot or anything, but like gradually I was feeling buzzed.
How much time would you say you spent at this house party in Scripps Ranch when you first got there?
It was less than an hour.
Do you recall whether or not you saw any mutual friends of yours and Kellen's that night?
We saw Chris.
And was Chris actually at that party?
Yes.
Did you ever see Kellen that night?
Yes.
Where was he?
With Chris.
Was this the same Chris who had been there two weeks prior?
Yes.
Now, how was it, if you know, how was it that Nikki knew Chris, if at all?
I'm sorry?
Did you know if Nikki knew Chris?
She did know Chris.
Do you know how she knew Chris?
She knew Chris through Mel John.
And Mel John would be the person that she was talking to or seeing at the time?
Yes.
Now, was Mel John there this second night?
No.
And what happened when you saw Kellen at this party?
Well, as we were leaving, they were coming up and had saw us, so we like waved them down.
When you say we were leaving, who are you referring to?
Me and Nicole.
And when you and Nicole were leaving this party, who was it that you saw that you waved down?
We saw Chris.
And was he with Mr.
He
Winslow?
was with Mr. Winslow.
Tell us what happened after you waved at Mr. Winslow.
So we waved at Chris. Chris had told Kellen and their friend Matt to come. They walked towards us and asked us what was going on.
And can you just tell us what plans you guys made once you had that initial conversation?
So we were leaving because there were police. We were told that there were police showing up to the party to shut it down.
Is that something that would happen on occasion when you were in high school?
Yes.
Where were you planning to go when you and Nicole were leaving?
We weren't sure yet.
When you saw this group of guys, including Mr. Winslow, did you make any plans to go to another location?
We asked each other where we were thinking of going, but weren't sure. But we knew we needed to leave, so we said, let's meet at a gas station.
Did you do that?
Yes.
How did you get to the gas station?
Me and Nikki and Chris got into her Ford Explorer.
Do you remember where you were sitting in relation in that Ford Explorer?
The front seat. The passenger front seat.
And who drove?
Nicole.
And you had said you had had 3 beers. Did you have any other alcohol prior to leaving that party?
I did not.
What happened after you and Chris and Nikki got into her Ford Explorer?
We drove to a gas station.
Where were Matt and Kellen, if you know?
In a car following us, or a vehicle following us.
Do you remember what type of car it was that they were in?
They were in a SUV,
What color it was?
a black SUV.
And did you remember, or do you remember who was driving?
I believe Kellen was.
Where did you go?
We went to a Shell gas station.
What did you do once you got to the gas station?
We got out. Nikki was fueling her vehicle and Kellen was fueling his. Me, Chris, and Matt were going back and forth. We were like parked next to each other. So going back and forth and just chit-chatting with one another like, hey, have you heard anything? Do you know where we could go next? Things like that.
Fair to say that this was a second staging area trying to figure out a new party to go to?
Yes,
Just like at the Jack in the Box?
correct.
When you were sitting there and you were chit-chatting, did you talk to Mr. Winslow at all about where he went to school or anything like that?
No,
And if we're 2 weeks removed from when you had first met him and had that interaction in the bedroom upstairs, were you being flirtatious with him at all on this night?
no,
Was he being flirtatious with you at all?
no.
Tell us what happened once you were at the gas station and trying to figure out where to go next.
So Kellen stated that they knew of a house party, and we said, okay, well, let's just go. Chris then received a phone call from his girlfriend, Joanna, and she was getting into a fight at another party and wanted to go there to make sure that she was okay.
So what happened when Chris had received this phone call and was going to go to a different location from where Kellen had suggested you go?
Chris asked Nikki or Nicole if we could go there, and Nicole said yeah.
What did you do?
I was talking with Kellen and Matt and everybody pretty much. All of us were standing there, and I said I'm gonna hop in with them and just meet you guys at the party, at the new house party that Kellen was speaking of.
Did you think that Nikki and Chris were going to actually meet you back at that next house party that Kellen had suggested?
Yes,
After they went to go see what was happening with Joanna?
yes,
Did you ride with Mr. Winslow in his vehicle?
I did.
And you mentioned that that was a black SUV of some sort. Do you recall what specific type of vehicle it was?
I don't remember.
Show you what's been marked for identification as Corpse Exhibit 4, and I would alert the media to the display, Your Honor.
All right, you can publish court exhibit number 4.
May I approach?
Yes.
Do you recognize this photograph?
I do.
Can you just tell us what that's a photograph of?
That is a picture of me and Kellen in the vehicle he was driving that night.
Do you remember who took this picture?
Nicole.
When you were in high school, would you and Nicole take pictures regularly of your nights out?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
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 You can hand me that exhibit.
Okay, thank you.
So Ms. Doe, did you in fact keep this picture afterwards?
I did.
Do you remember what time in the evening or when in the evening you took it?
At the gas station. I don't remember the time that it was.
And that picture of Mr. Winslow, was he seated in the vehicle that you rode in that night?
Yes.
What type of camera was this picture taken on?
One of those turn cameras. So it's one of those disposable cameras.
And if Nicole took the picture, was it your camera or hers, if you remember?
It was mine.
Did you develop the photos?
I did.
Did you keep this photo?
I did.
Why is it that you kept this picture?
Overruled. You can answer.
Sorry. To remind myself that anything's possible, that somebody can harm you, thinking that there may have been one misunderstanding.
At the time that this picture was taken, did you feel like you were safe with Mr. Winslow?
I did.
Can you tell us what happened after you got into his car and left the gas station?
We drove, I don't know exactly where, I just know it was in the Scripps area. We drove to a townhome.
And when you got to this townhome, do you remember how many people were there, if any?
There wasn't anybody there.
When you say we drove from the gas station to the townhome, who was in the vehicle, if you remember?
Me, Kellen, and Matt.
And who drove?
Kellen,
Where did you sit?
the front seat, the front passenger seat.
Is it fair to say Matt was in the back seat?
Yes.
Can you tell us what happened when you first got to this townhome?
I don't remember walking into the home. I do remember being in the bathroom, washing my hands, and trying to sober up.
Were you feeling the effects of the alcohol that you had drank?
Yes.
Do you recall drinking anything other than the 3 beers you had at the first party you were at?
No.
Did you have anything to drink during the car ride from the gas station to this townhome?
No.
Do you remember if Matt or Kellen were drinking anything in the car ride to the townhome?
No.
Were they, or do you not remember?
I don't remember.
Now, in terms of what you recall happening when you were at the townhome, why did you go to the restroom?
Because I felt the need to put some water on my face, drink some water, use the restroom, kind of get it together because I was feeling the effects of the beer.
Did you feel drunk at that point?
Yes.
Now, once you had gotten to the townhome, other than Matt and Kellen, did you see anybody else?
No.
After being in the bathroom, or let me ask you, when you were in the bathroom, what happened?
Kellen knocked on the door and told me to hurry up.
What did you do when you heard him knock on the door and say, hurry up?
I finished washing my hands and opened the door.
Where did you go?
to the couch. I don't remember walking to the couch, I just remember sitting on the couch
Where were Matt and Kellen, if you know?
in the kitchen.
And do you actually recall what they were doing in the kitchen?
No.
What do you remember happening when you were sitting on the couch?
I just remember looking at the fabric. Like, I just remember looking at the color of the couch.
And what happened after you were looking at the fabric on the couch?
I opened my eyes, and my face was being pushed into Matt's groin area.
Prior to that memory of opening your eyes, do you know what happened while you were on the couch down in the downstairs area of the townhome?
No.
Do you know if you fell asleep?
No.
Were you conscious between when you were on the couch to when you felt yourself being pushed into Matt's groin area?
No.
Do you know how you got from the couch to the place where your face was being pushed in Matt's groin area?
No.
Where were you when you woke up to that, or when you came to?
Is it a bedroom? On a bed?
Do you remember if that was upstairs or downstairs?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Do you know how you got from the couch to the bedroom being on a bed?
No.
When you say that your face was being pushed into Matt's groin area, who was pushing you?
Kellen.
How was Mr. Winslow pushing you into Matt's groin area?
From behind.
Do you remember what part of his body he was using to push your face into Matt's area?
His hand.
Where was he pushing you with his hand?
His hand was on the back of my head.
And Your Honor, for the record, she's taken her right hand and placed it on the back of her head with an open palm pressing downward.
The record will so reflect.
Excuse me, Your Honor, we have exhibit 4 taken down, it's not being used.
All right, we can black out that exhibit.
Thank you.
Next question.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, what was Kellen doing at the time that he was pressing your head towards Matt's groin area?
He was penetrating me from behind.
Was he having sex with you?
Yes.
Was he having sex with you at the time that you regained consciousness?
Yes.
And I'm sorry to ask you, but how was it that he was having sex with you? Where?
He was, I'm sorry,
What part of his body was penetrating what part of your body?
his penis was penetrating my vagina.
When you were on the bed, you mentioned that he was doing this from behind, is that right?
Yes.
Was Matt lying on the bed?
Yes.
When you say that Kellen was having sex with you from behind, pushing your head towards Matt's groin, was Matt's penis exposed?
Yes.
Did he have his pants off?
Yes.
Did you have any memory prior to waking up to this happening?
No.
What was Matt doing?
Matt was just laying there with his legs open.
Were you facing him?
Yes.
What was Kellen saying, if anything, at that point?
I don't remember. I can't, the only thing it's just my view. I don't hear anything.
What did you do when you regained consciousness and felt Mr. Winslow doing this to you?
I'm telling him to stop.
Did you actually say that out loud?
Yes.
Do you remember what you said when you were telling him to stop?
Just stop. Just stop.
Did you become upset?
Yes.
Were you crying? If you know?
Yes.
Was he being forceful with you?
Yes.
How was he holding you, if at all, while he was having sex with you from behind?
He was holding on to my hair. And I'm pushing with both of my hands. I get his thighs to stop. And I just keep telling him to stop.
All right, the record reflect the witness put both of her hands on each side of her body with her palms facing backwards, about even with her waist, and pushing in the backwards motion with both hands.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next question.
When you were telling him to stop and pressing your hands against his thighs, were you trying to make him stop having sex with you?
Yes.
Did he continue to penetrate you vaginally with his penis from behind?
Yes.
Do you remember if he said anything while you were telling him to stop?
No.
What did Matt do as you were telling Kellen, Mr. Winslow, to stop and pushing against him?
Matt got up and was telling him to just stop. And then Kellen flipped me onto my back.
When you say that Kellen flipped you onto his back, how did he do that?
He turned me over. And so he turns me over, I don't know which way, but I'm now laying on my back on the bed.
If you were 5'2" and 92 pounds in June of 2003, was he bigger than you?
Yes.
How tall would you say he was?
Like 6 foot? Or taller?
Was he strong?
Yes.
Was it easy for him to flip you from being facing downwards to being on your back?
Objection. Speculation.
Overruled. You can answer.
Yes.
After he flipped you onto your back, were you lying on the bed?
Yes.
Had you been telling him no during this time?
Yes.
After Matt got up and you heard him tell Kellen to stop, is that when Kellen flipped you onto your back?
Yes.
What happened after he did that?
I kept telling him to stop, and then I turned my head to the left. And somebody was there holding a camera.
Based on your best memory, do you recall seeing somebody holding a camera inside the bedroom when this happened?
When I initially came to, no.
When you're saying that you looked to the left when you were lying on your back, do you remember seeing a camera?
Yes.
Do you know if Matt was still in the room?
No.
What did Kellen do after he had put you onto your back?
He kept going, and I just kept saying stop, just stop.
And you're taking both your hands and you cross them into an X in front of your chest. And you're pushing it outward?
I'm sorry.
And you're pushing your arms outward, is that right?
Yes.
The record will so reflect that that's what she was doing on the witness stand. Next question.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Do you need some water or anything?
Did you continue to tell him to stop?
Yes.
When you say that he kept doing it, what was he doing?
He was still having sex with me.
Now that he's having sex with you, are you facing each other?
Yes.
What happened after he continued having sex with you as you were on your back?
He stops.
Do you know why he stopped?
Cause Matt,
Objection. Speculation.
Overruled. You can continue.
cause Matt told him to stop, just stop.
After Matt told him to stop, did Kellen finally stop having sex with you?
Yes.
Did he say anything to you when he stopped?
No.
What happened after you saw Matt telling Mr. Winslow to stop?
Kellen gets off of me and moves to my right. And then I see somebody else standing behind him. That wasn't Matt.
Did Kellen leave the room?
Yes.
What happened after Kellen left the room?
Matt started to help me get dressed.
After Matt started to help you get dressed, did Kellen come back into the room at all?
He looked, I don't know if he came in fully, but I know he came in back. And he says, she's just a stupid bitch. And then closes the door.
Do you know if he was talking to you or talking to Matt?
I don't know.
Did you
Is
see?
this a good point to take a break, or?
Yeah, it can be. Thank you.
Okay, all right, it's 10:30, it's time to take our mid-morning recess. We're going to be in recess for, let's say, 20 minutes, all right? Please remember the admonition. Don't discuss the case with anybody. We'll see you back here in 20 minutes. All right, we are back on the record. All jurors are present. All counsel and the defendant are also present. Jane Doe No. 4 is still on the stand. You're still under oath. All right?
Okay.
And do you remember where you left off? All right, you can resume your direct examination. Go ahead.
Thank you. So Ms. Doe, you were just telling us that after Kellen had stopped, had left the room, he came back in and made a comment towards you. And Matt began to help you put your clothes back on. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, after Matt helped you put your clothes on, did you see Kellen again that night?
No.
Do you know where he went after saying she's just a stupid bitch and leaving?
No.
What happened after Matt helped you get your clothes back on?
He helped me get dressed and brought me out to a vehicle and told me he would take me to my friends.
At this point in time, had you seen Nikki since you parted ways at the gas station?
No.
Had you seen Chris since you parted ways at the gas station?
No.
Other than Matt and Kellen and perhaps the people you remember holding a camera, did you see anybody else in that house that night?
No.
Now, did you, after Matt helped you get your clothes on, did you leave the house?
Yes.
Do you remember what type of car he drove?
What I remember while sitting in the car was seeing a BMW emblem on the steering wheel.
At this point, was Matt helping you?
Yes.
Did he say anything to you about what had happened?
He just asked me if I felt like I've been raped.
When he asked you if you felt like you had been raped, do you remember if you responded?
I just was crying hysterically.
When you say that you were crying hysterically, were you still emotional based on what had happened?
Yes.
Did he ask you more than once?
Yes.
How many times would you say he asked you if you had been raped?
3.
Do you ever remember if you said anything back to him?
No.
Where did you go once Matt was driving you away from his house?
We met up with Nicole and Chris.
Do you remember where you were, where you met up with Nicole and Chris?
No.
Do you remember how it was that either you or Matt had contacted Nicole or Chris?
No.
Once you met up with them, were you still alone in the car with Matt?
Yes.
Was there anyone else that met up with you other than Nicole and Chris?
No.
Tell us what happened once you met up with them.
Matt carried me from Nicole, or from his car into Nicole's car.
And was that Nicole's Ford Explorer?
Yes.
Remember where he put you?
In the passenger front seat.
Was Matt a pretty big guy?
The tall guy.
Was he as big as Kellen?
As tall as Kellen, not as width-wise.
Now, when Matt and Chris and Nicole met with you at this location, I know you don't recall where it was, but when you met together, do you remember Chris saying anything in that moment?
Asking what happened.
Did you see a conversation between Matt and Chris?
Yes.
Did you see Matt talking and telling Chris what had happened?
Not specifically.
Do you remember what Chris said when they were having that conversation? Effect on the listener or state of mind?
Overruled, subject to a motion to strike. You can answer.
And start with the question one more time.
Do you remember what Chris said in response in that moment when they were having that discussion?
This would destroy his career.
Objection. Hearsay,
It goes-
strike.
Your Honor.
It's not- Oh, overruled is not offered for its truth. The answer will stand.
Thank you, Your Honor. When you heard that, were you being carried into the car or were you already in the car?
It was already in the car.
And when I say the car, I'm referring to Nicole's Ford Explorer.
Yes.
What happened after you heard that exchange, that conversation between Matt and Chris?
They left and Nicole got into her vehicle.
Where did you and Nicole go?
Back to her home.
You mentioned that you had been crying hysterically in Matt's car. Can you describe your demeanor when you were with Nicole?
Just crying and telling her I told him to stop.
Did she ask you any questions, if you remember?
She asked me what happened, and all I could say was I told him to stop.
Where did you go with Nicole?
To her home.
What did you do once you got there?
I took a shower.
When you were in this state afterwards, were you feeling the effects of alcohol still, or were you just upset and emotional based on what had happened?
Just upset with what just had happened.
Do you remember having any further conversation with Nicole that night other than you telling her that you kept telling him to stop?
No.
Do you know if Nicole knew who you were referring to when you were saying I was telling him to stop?
Yes.
How do you know that?
Because she saw me leave with them. So maybe her assumption was that it was with that individual.
Objection. Strike is speculative.
Overruled, the answer will stand.
Based on your conversation with her in that moment, that's what you took it to mean, right?
Yes.
Now, when you slept over at Nicole's house, do you remember talking to her about what had happened the next day?
No.
Now, going forward from this time, did you call the police in 2003 to report what Mr. Winslow had done?
I did not.
Why didn't you call the police?
The 17-year-old drinking underage. I'd slept with him 2 weeks prior. I didn't think anybody would believe anything I had to say.
Now, other than having met him and knowing him as Kellen, did you know anything about like what he was doing or where he was going to school during that time?
No.
When Chris made the comment this will ruin his career, did you know what that meant at that point?
Like the next couple days, I found out who he was, who his father was, and what he was up to.
When you say who he was, did you know that he was a college football player?
At the time I didn't, but afterwards I did.
Did you know that his father had been a professional football player as well?
At that time when I found out, yes.
And you're saying that that's after the sexual assault?
Yes.
Did that factor into why you chose not to call the police?
Yes.
Why?
Because why would anybody believe some girl that got drunk to who his father is, this, well-known man who's been in the NFL and the Hall of Fame and a pristine, person? Why would his son do something so disgusting? Why would anybody believe?
Narrative at this point.
Overruled, it's responsive, you can continue. Go ahead.
Why would anybody believe me?
Other than talking to Nicole about what had happened, did you tell anybody else here in San Diego before moving to Hawaii?
No.
Why not?
Because I think nobody would have believed me. They would have, in your mind, you're kind of like, did you allow yourself to go in that situation?
Is that how you felt?
Yes.
And then going forward, did you in fact move to Hawaii just a few weeks later?
Yes.
Do you remember what time of month in July of 2003 that you moved away?
I know it was after 4th of July.
When you had relocated to Hawaii, did you maintain any contact with any of your friends in San Diego?
Nicole.
How is it that you stayed in contact with Nicole?
Through phone calls, text messages.
As you began to grow older, did your relationship with Nicole, as friends from high school, did that actually fade away a little bit?
Yes.
Once you grew older and you met your husband, fair to say that you didn't keep in close contact with her?
Yes.
Now, in terms of people that you've spoken to about what had happened, did you ever tell anyone other than Nicole from then until June of 2018 about what had happened?
Yes.
Did you speak to a person by the name of Brandon Guillermo about what had happened?
Yes.
Who's Brandon Guillermo?
An ex-boyfriend of mine.
When was it that you were in a relationship with Brandon Guillermo?
We started dating at the end of 2003, December of 2003.
At this point in time, were you still 17 years old, or had you turned 18?
I had turned 18.
Did you meet him in Hawaii when you were living there?
Yes.
Can you just tell us about that relationship and how it led to you talking to him about what happened?
We eventually moved in with one another, and he woke me up because I was screaming and crying because I was having flashbacks of what happened between myself and Kellen and the individuals. Multiple times he said to shake me to wake me up.
Now, if you started this relationship with him at the end of 2003, do you recall specifically when it was that you had moved in with him and you had these flashbacks where he would have to wake you up?
I want to say like January is when it started.
Would that be January 2004?
Yes.
So it's still within about 7 months of when the event actually happened?
Yes.
Now, when you say that you were having flashbacks and he would wake you up because you were screaming, do you remember what it was that you told him about what had happened?
It just explained to him that somebody had assaulted me back home.
Do you know if you used that word assaulted or another word to describe it?
Somebody raped me.
Do you remember what word you said?
Rape.
Do you remember if you told him who had done that?
I don't remember saying his name.
You don't remember?
I don't remember.
Now, other than that one time when he had woken you up while you were having flashbacks while asleep, did you have any other conversations with him about what happened to you with Mr. Winslow?
No.
Is that your best memory?
Yeah.
Other than speaking with Mr. Guillermo about what had happened, did you tell anyone else about what Mr. Winslow had done to you?
My husband.
When was it that you first met your husband?
In 2011.
In terms of the time when you spoke to him about what happened, can you tell us that context?
I'm sorry.
When was it, as you best recall, that you talked to your husband about what Mr. Winslow had done to you?
Was in 2012.
If you met him in 2011, were you in a pretty serious relationship at the time of 2012?
Yes.
Did you feel like you could confide in him?
Yes.
Can you tell us how it was that this conversation came up?
Just, like being in a new relationship, people look at things sexually, want to know what their partners like, what they dislike. A conversation had come up. Have you ever thought about partners or groups or anything like that? And I freaked out. I told him no. And he's like, it was just a question. This is not something that I'm into. It's just something, we want to get to know one another. And I told him no, and I freaked out. And he's like, what's the deal? What's your problem? And that's when I started crying, and I told him what had happened in 2003.
Do you remember when you told your husband about what had happened in 2003, what words you used to describe what happened?
I explained to him that, not like, how do I say this? That I was taken advantage of while I was under the influence. That somebody penetrated me or had sex with me without my acknowledgement or without my consent. Or allowed somebody to videotape me, because that is not something that I want in my life, or I find pleasurable, or I think it's okay.
Do you remember if you told him who had done that to you?
I want to say I said his name, but I don't fully remember.
Now, going forward from when you had that conversation with your husband, did he ask you any follow-up questions, or did you have any additional conversations other than that one time?
No.
Now, I want to talk to you about what it was that led you to report this incident to the Sheriff's Department. In June of 2018, other than speaking to your husband and your boyfriend about what had happened, had you disclosed this to anyone else?
No.
Did you ever report it to law enforcement between 2003 and June of 2018?
No.
In June of 2018, did you receive some information from the news about a pending criminal prosecution against Mr. Kellen Winslow?
Yes.
How was it that you came across that information?
Through Snapchat, you can see there's like different snaps through people you follow on Instagram or Facebook. I follow the San Diego Tribune on Snapchat. So all of a sudden I see his face and I freak. I click on it and I'm just like, no way. I start crying. I start thinking about what happened. And that's how I knew or saw anything about Kellen.
When you say that you came across this on Snapchat, was it a news article that was covering the fact that Mr. Winslow had been arraigned on criminal charges involving sexual assault?
Yes.
Did you read that Union Tribune article that had been published after his arraignment on June 15th of 2018?
Yes.
Do you remember when specifically you saw the article in relation to June 15th of 2018?
I don't remember the specific date.
You mentioned that you freaked. Did you become emotional about, after seeing that article?
Yes.
Did you think back to what had happened to you?
Yes.
Were you still living in North Carolina with your husband and 2 children?
Yes.
Now, when that happened and you saw that article, did you talk to anybody about it?
Nicole.
Is that Nicole Edwards?
Yes.
So if your relationship with Nicole had faded and you weren't in as frequent contact with her, how did you reach out to Nicole?
Through Instagram Messenger.
And what did you do when you reached out to Nicole?
I had taken a screenshot of the article and sent it to her.
When you sent her a screenshot of the article, why did you do that?
Because I know she knew.
What do you mean by that?
I knew she would know how I felt.
Objection. Speculative.
Overruled. It goes to her state of mind.
Thank you, Your Honor. And when you reached out to her via Instagram Messenger, did you tell her how you were feeling in that moment?
Yes.
Was this the first time that you had spoken about it, other than the times that you've already mentioned with Mr. Guillermo and your husband?
Yes.
Why was it that you felt the need to reach out to Nicole and send her that article and tell her how you were feeling?
Because she's my person. Even though you're so far from one another, me and not talking in years, just me not seeing your kids, she's still that person that's gonna know how you felt or saw how you felt.
Now, when you sent her that article, did she respond to you?
She did.
Other than telling her how you felt, did she tell you that she remembered?
Yes.
Did you, in fact, after you spoke to her about it, did you tell her about how this was impacting you in that moment after seeing that he had been arraigned on sexual assault charges?
Yes.
Were you still emotional thinking about what had happened to you?
Yes.
Do you need a moment? Your Honor, may I just take a brief moment?
Sure.
Would you like some water?
Okay.
Do you want to take the break?
No. It's okay. Sorry. Okay.
When you were feeling that way and you were communicating her on Instagram Messenger, did you talk to her about why you never said anything?
Yes.
Did that factor into how you were feeling in that moment that ultimately led to you reporting this to law enforcement?
Yes.
And when you were talking to her, was she responding to you about what she recalled?
Not fully, she just said she wished we would have said something at the time.
Now, other than speaking to Nicole in this Instagram messaging conversation, did you talk to your husband about how you were feeling after seeing the news?
I did.
And can you just describe like how that conversation was?
Same thing, told him I was freaking out. I can't believe this is happening. Just feeling completely overwhelmed, crying. And his reply back to me was like, you need to tell your story.
When your husband began to encourage you to come forward, did Nicole also encourage you to come forward?
Yes.
Other than those two, did you talk to anybody about what had happened?
No.
And this is in the time frame of June of 2018.
Correct.
Did you in fact make a decision to contact the Sheriff's Department in San Diego?
Yes.
How was it that you did that?
At the end of the article, it just says to contact, and I called the phone number that was listed.
Do you recall speaking with a sergeant by the name of James Emig after making initial contact with the Sheriff's Department?
Yes.
Do you remember when that was in relation to when you saw the article?
It was like a couple days after.
And with that couple day time period, was that when you had the Instagram conversations with Nicole and then also the conversation with your husband?
Yes.
What was it about your husband and Nicole's support that led you to decide to call the Sheriff's Department?
It actually wasn't even them two. It was my kids.
What was it about your children that caused you to call the Sheriff's Department?
I look at two innocent girls and never would want them to ever feel like they didn't have a voice, that it was not okay, or that it's okay to say no and to be able to speak up and tell their truths.
Now, when you contacted the Sheriff's Department and had this conversation with Sergeant Emig, was that over the phone?
Yes.
How long would you say it lasted?
20 minutes.
And when you were talking to him about what happened, were you attempting to describe as best you could what led up to and happened during the sexual assault?
I tried to, but he also stated that I should not say specifics because it's over the phone.
Did he inform you that he would arrange for a follow-up interview?
Yes.
Did he give you any details about how that would happen?
He said that it would either be him or yourself would have contacted me.
And when you're saying yourself, are you referring to me being a member of the District Attorney's Office?
Yes.
And were you in fact interviewed at your home on July 6th of 2018?
Yes.
And was that with me and District Attorney Investigator Chris Phelan and District Attorney Investigator Kathy Pierce?
Yes.
And how long would you say we sat down together to talk about what happened?
A few hours.
And was that interview recorded?
Yes.
Now, Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm going to show you a series of exhibits that have been marked as course exhibits 154, 155, 156, and 157. Beginning with the first, do you recognize what those are?
Yes.
What are they?
These are the messages between myself and Nicole.
And when you say the messages, are these the actual Instagram Messenger communications that you sent to her after seeing the news article?
Yes.
Now, that conversation begin on June 18th of 2018?
Yes.
And did that begin with a text message from you being sent to her with a link to the news article that you were referring to in your testimony?
Yes.
Showing you first Courts Exhibit 154 for identification. Looking to the left, did you in fact take screenshots of that messenger conversation where you then provided them to the district attorney's office to show the conversation you had with Nicole Edwards?
Yes.
And are these those screenshots, at least the first two?
Yes.
Looking at the left, do you see the date of June 18th of 2018?
Yes.
And then do you see the link to the article which states complaint against Kellen Winslow II alleges 5 incidents, including rape, and then it cuts off?
Yes.
And did it have a photograph associated with that webpage or that article?
Yes.
Did you recognize that as being Kellen Winslow?
Yes.
Is this the article that you saw from the Union Tribune that caused you to be emotional?
Yes.
What was it that you said to Nicole Edwards when you sent her that text message and that link?
Like it says here, I am just saying he deserves, sorry, it's obviously weird thing. I'm not sure what you remember, but because of him, I've gone through a lot of shit.
Did you continue to send her messages about how you were feeling in that moment?
Yes.
What'd you say?
Never said anything because I thought it was always my fault. But I remember screaming no, and I just can't, Nikki. This is truly bringing me to tears and freaking me out.
How did Ms. Edwards respond to you?
I do remember. Hated that we never said anything. I'm so glad that they finally got him.
What did you say to her after Nikki responded to you in that way?
You have no idea the feelings I'm having right now.
And what did she say?
I'm so sorry.
What did you say back to her?
Thanks, Nikki. I just needed to share this with you. It's just been something that has messed me up for so long.
And how did she respond?
When
And
I-
by the way, if there's any mention of your name in any of these, don't state your name, okay? All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor, I appreciate that. Now, moving forward to Court's Exhibit 155, which contains the entirety of the next text message, beginning at the top on the left. What was your response to Nikki after she had said that?
That's actually Nicole's response, the top left.
Pardon me, just going back to 154. After you said, thanks, Nikki, in that text message, how is it that Nicole responded beginning on the top left of 155?
When I first heard of it, it was,
I'm not jumping hearsay at this point as to Nicole.
Sustained.
Now, in terms of the communication that you then had with Ms. Edwards, did you continue to describe how you were feeling in that moment?
yes,
And were there things that Ms. Edwards was saying back to you that prompted further disclosure about how you were feeling?
yes,
Now, in terms of that conversation, did that factor into why it was that you then came forward to law enforcement?
yes,
Did she say such things to you as, you need to tell your story?
yes,
Did you say things to her about why you wanted to come forward, yes or no?
It is leading, I'll allow it. The other option is to put the whole thing up on the board and have some hearsay statements come in. So overruled, you can answer.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I'll re-ask it. Did you then tell her certain things in response to what she was telling you about why you were willing to come forward and talk to the police?
Yes,
What was it that you told her about why you were willing to come forward and talk to the police? Do you recall specifically?
can you ask the question again? Sorry.
Are you asking about the contents of Court Exhibits 154 through 157?
I can ask if you have not had, would it refresh your recollection to refer to that text message conversation regarding that specific question of what you told her that led to why you wanted to come forward and
Yes.
speak to the police?
Sorry.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Now, showing you for counsel, it's Exhibit 156, the second portion, the second text message that's sent by you. Just read that to yourself first, not out loud, and let me know if that's refresh your recollection.
Yes,
What was it that you recall telling Ms. Edwards about why it is that you were going to come forward with the police?
because I need closure.
Did you tell her that this was still affecting you?
Yes,
Did you tell her that your husband was encouraging you?
yes,
How did she respond to you in that moment when you told her that you were going to come forward?
she said, I agree and I support you.
Thank you, nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, cross.
Ms. Doe, you testified at a preliminary hearing in this case, remember?
Yes,
You came to court and gave your testimony,
yes,
all that. And you gave an interview to the police on the phone, right?
correct.
And then you came and spoke to the prosecutors, correct?
They came to me.
They came to you, okay. But you gave an interview to the prosecutor and his investigators, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Now, since the prelim, you understood that you gave it, well, according to the Officer Emick, Sergeant Emick, you gave a completely different version of events to him than you did to the investigators from the DA's office. You understand that, right?
Objection, argumentative, and facts not in evidence.
Overruled, you can answer.
I did give a statement.
Right, and it was different. The statement you gave to, well, let me ask you this. You said, you told us during the direct examination that, and this is your testimony, that the Officer Emick told you not to be specific in details over the phone.
Correct.
Okay, and you recall that.
Yes,
And you didn't testify to that at the prelim, remember that,
correct.
right? So this is something for the first time you're saying that this officer told you not to be specific.
Correct.
So let me get this right. You call the number on this hotline for potential victims in a case involving Kellen Winslow, correct?
Correct.
And it's specifically for victims of sex allegations, correct?
Yes,
And then you are basically, you call the number and they channel you to Officer Emick or Detective Emick,
correct.
Sergeant Emick, right?
Yes,
And he's taking a report of a sexual offense, correct?
yes.
But he tells you not to be specific on the details.
He explains to me that because of the individual, that I should not be specific until I speak to Mr. Dan Owens.
Okay, so is it your test, did you tell the, just let me ask you this, did you tell the, did you tell Sheriff Emig that you were picked up in a dark-colored SUV driven by Kellen Winslow?
I rode and we met and I was in his vehicle, yes.
I'm asking you, did you say you were picked up by Kellen Winslow in a dark-colored SUV?
No,
Right? Did you tell him that during the ride you were provided alcohol by Kellen Winslow and that you blacked out?
no,
Okay, remember, listen to my statement. During the ride, you were provided alcohol by Kellen Winslow and then you blacked out.
Objection, asked and answered.
Just-
Well, overruled, are you asking her if that's what she told the sergeant?
Correct.
Okay, you understand the question?
yes.
Okay, you can answer that. Did you tell the sergeant that?
I did not.
All right, next question.
Did you tell the sergeant that when you awoke, you were in an extremely groggy state? Did you tell him that?
No,
And that you recall several males groping your breasts? Did you tell
no,
him that? And that they were digitally penetrating you?
no,
You don't recall that?
no, sir.
And that they were touching other parts of your body?
No,
You didn't say that to the officer?
I did not.
Okay. Shortly after regaining consciousness, did you tell him this, that after regaining consciousness, you recalled one of the males leaving the room and Kellen Winslow then having non-consensual vaginal intercourse with you?
No,
Did you tell him that you'd seen the news coverage and you wanted to help stop future assaults?
correct.
You told him that, right? And did you tell him that you were very interested in supporting the accusers of the current case?
Not very interested, but I'm here to support as well.
So the statement that you were very interested in supporting the accusers is not a statement that you made?
No,
Right. So let me backtrack a little bit. So you say you didn't make the statements. So the statement that you were picked up by Kellen Winslow in a dark-colored SUV is incorrect.
correct.
That's a bad way to put it. True or false? You were picked up in a dark-colored SUV driven by Kellen Winslow. True or false?
Can you ask the question again?
Objection vague as to picked up.
Well, I'm talking the night of
Oh,
the...
just a minute, just a minute. The court will sustain the objection as being vague, but you can restate it.
The night that you were assaulted, is it true that you were picked up in a dark-colored SUV driven by Kellen
I
Winslow?
don't know what you mean by picked up.
Well, I mean,
Like, did he show up to my home to pick me up? Is that,
I'm asking whether you recall ever being picked up by him, either at your home or at a location, other than you getting into the vehicle on your own.
no,
Okay, so that didn't occur,
no,
all right? You were never provided alcohol by Kellen Winslow. Is that true or false?
I was not provided.
Okay, so it's true you were not provided alcohol.
It's true, I was not provided alcohol.
And so that we're clear, on the night of your assault, right, you said you had 2 or 3 beers,
Correct,
right? At most you had 3,
correct.
could have been 2.
Most would be 3,
Yeah, but the most would be 3, but you said 2 or 3, so
Yes.
could have been 2, right?
correct.
And nobody gave you anything to drink, right?
No,
You had a cup with you, which was that you brought on your own accord to the party, right?
yes,
And you poured the alcohol, or you watched the alcohol being poured into your drink from the keg,
yes,
and you drank from the keg.
yes,
In fact, you drank all of your alcohol before you even had contact with Mr. Winslow.
correct.
Mr. Winslow never gave you any drinks at all.
No,
Mr. Winslow never gave you any food.
no,
Mr. Winslow never gave you any drugs.
no,
He never gave you any marijuana.
no,
He never gave you any water to drink.
no,
So there's nothing that Mr. Winslow did that could have any input into your body at all.
no,
And for that matter, Matt, right? He didn't give you anything either.
no,
No food that he has?
no, nobody gave me anything.
Okay. So the only thing that went into your body that evening was what you put into your own body on your own accord.
Correct,
So you didn't tell the on June 18th when you called the sheriff, you didn't tell him that anything about anybody videotaping you, right?
I explained to them, that's what I said in my statement, and that's exactly what I told Mr. Dan Owens.
Okay, so it's your memory now that you told Sergeant Emick on the phone that you were being videotaped.
No, I know what I said to the sergeant.
Okay,
What you're asking me, those questions, I did not say any of those things.
okay, you didn't tell him that you were being videotaped.
I did tell him that I was being videotaped.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. So
Yeah.
when you called him on the phone, you told him that you were being videotaped.
Yes,
And did you tell him that you had a previous relationship with Mr. Winslow?
I did not get that far, no.
Okay, so you just told him about the night, that night that it happened.
Correct,
And you said that you were in a I guess a condominium, and then you passed out and you woke up to being penetrated from behind.
I explained to him that we were in a townhouse, and that, yes, that's what happened.
Okay, because you said that you spoke to him for about 20 minutes. That's what you said on direct.
Correct,
And you said that in your preliminary hearing testimony also a few months back. Remember that?
correct,
So 20 minutes is a period of time, you would agree?
right,
It's enough for you to give certain details to this officer?
correct,
I mean, because if he's telling you not to be specific, it would be a pretty short conversation, wouldn't you agree?
correct.
All right, so you gave at least as much, did you give a detail that you've given here today
No,
to that officer? But you told him the basics. You told that officer that you met with Kellen Winslow, you went to a location, and that you had only had 2 or 3 beers. You told him that?
yes,
And then you told him that the next thing you know, you passed out and you woke up to being penetrated by Mr. Winslow.
yes,
And then you told him that he was shoving your face into his friend's crotch area.
I did not say that over the phone.
Okay, you didn't tell him that.
I did not say that over the phone.
Okay. But you told him you definitely told him you blacked out, right?
I did not say that I blacked out. I just said that I remember going to a bathroom and sitting on a couch and waking up to what was happening. I didn't say exactly what was happening. I just said what was happening.
Okay, but in relating that information to Sergeant Emick, you're basically saying that you blacked out. I mean, because
I didn't use that specific word though.
that was your intent.
Okay,
I mean, well, I'm saying there's a period of time where you don't remember anything, right?
correct.
And there's a period of time before that where you remember everything, right?
Uh-huh.
And then there's
Yes.
a period where you're after where you remember everything.
Okay,
So the period in between, you're letting this officer know that you blacked out.
Okay.
I'm asking you.
Yes.
Was that your intent?
Yes.
Okay. When the phone call was on June 18th of 2018. When, in relation to this set of text messages that you had, when was that?
I'm sorry?
If the phone call was June 18th, when were the text messages to Nikki?
This started on June 18th.
Okay. So the same day you called the sheriff?
Correct.
All right. And when did you read the articles about Mr. Winslow?
2 days prior.
Okay, you read
2 days, a day prior.
2 days prior. So you read a Union Tribune article
Yes.
about the arraignment?
Correct.
But you also read the Sports Illustrated article, didn't you?
Yes.
And in that Sports Illustrated article, there was some opinion by somebody writing there that Mr. Winslow might use some type of CTE or concussion defense. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And that upset you.
Yes.
And then you told your friend Nikki, in fact, that they're going to try to use this defense about CTE or concussion. Remember that?
Yes.
And then he goes, that's not. He said something about something to the effect of, that's a bunch of crap because, he did this to me back in 2003. You recall that?
Yes.
Okay. It was upsetting to you that this professional football player might use some type of mental defense to get off of the charges. Is that what you were thinking?
That article is what that was saying.
I know, but that's
Yes.
what you were thinking because of the article, right?
Correct.
And so you were telling Nikki that also, right?
Yes.
And Nikki told you that she's 1,000,000% behind you.
Yes.
Some of that effect. And you recall Nikki telling you also that you got to take this guy down. Remember that?
So, see where she says take him down.
Okay, you don't recall that? Okay. So you call so immediately, is it immediately after the text you decide then to call, or do you talk to your husband in between?
I will text my husband in between.
Okay. And then that's when you relayed the information about the assault initially to Sergeant Amick.
Correct.
Okay. So it's your memory that you had two contacts with Mr. Winslow. One was about 2 weeks prior to your assault.
Yes.
Right? And the week prior, the 2 weeks prior, you met up with Mr. Winslow. You were physically attracted to him, I take it?
Yes.
I mean, you guys are both young, you're teenagers, right?
Right.
He was an attractive teenager at the time?
Yes.
He was in college, right? You at least knew that.
No.
You didn't know anything about Mr. Winslow at all?
I did not.
Okay, you didn't know that he was he was a big-time college football player at University of Miami? You have to wait for me to finish. Big-time college player at the University of Miami?
No.
Okay. None of your friends told you?
No.
Nobody at the party said, hey, there's Kellen Winslow?
No.
Okay, so, and your friend Nikki didn't know?
She didn't say anything to me if she did.
Okay. So you are there with, you said Chris Rios. Is it Chris Resto?
I remember as it Rios, but
Could be Resto?
if so.
Okay. He was a friend of Matt's and Kellen's?
Yes.
And Nikki knew him
Yes.
through this sort of weird thing, right? So you guys meet up like high school students, and I mean young kids. You're hanging out in parking lots waiting for the next party to go to, basically, right?
Yes.
And on this first evening, you didn't have any alcohol at all.
I did not.
Okay. And so you go back to this apartment or a condominium. Is it a house or condo?
I'm sorry, which event are you speaking
First.
of? The first time?
Yes.
It was a house that we
House.
went to.
Okay. And what you said on direct is you don't know how it happened, but you were upstairs with Mr. Winslow.
I said that I walked upstairs with him.
Right. You don't know how it. You said you don't know.
I don't know, like, the initial question, like, hey, do you want to go upstairs or something? I don't remember that part.
Right. But it's fair for me to say that you were basically a teenager. You were attracted to Mr. Winslow. You went willingly upstairs with him, and you were going to engage in some type of foreplay, to say the least.
Yes.
Right? Okay? And the foreplay then would lead to sex.
Yes.
And so Mr. Winslow did not force you to go upstairs.
No.
Mr. Winslow did not threaten you to go upstairs.
No.
Mr. Winslow did not say, hey, you should have some of this alcohol or drugs before you went upstairs either, did he?
No.
So you go upstairs, you guys, and by the way, before this time you were flirting with him.
Yes.
I mean, you were making it clear that you were interested in him,
Yes.
right? You go upstairs, and, you know, the foreplay goes to sex. Yes?
Yes.
Right? His buddy Matt comes in, you see the guy. Did you know Matt from before?
No.
Okay, so you didn't know him by name at the time?
I knew his name was Matt, but no, I never met him prior to this time.
Okay, so you guys are having sex. This guy comes sort of, you know, you can see him in the background. Matt walks in.
He walked into the room, correct?
Okay, and you said he looked like he was looking for something.
Yes.
All right, and then according to your testimony, Kellen says it's okay, he can watch.
Yes.
And you tell him, no, I'm not cool with that, right?
Right.
Did Mr. Winslow then say anything to you in response to you saying I'm not cool with it?
He said he's just gonna watch.
Okay, and once again, you say I'm not good with it, right?
Correct.
And then he says, like, let me finish.
Yes.
Right? And you say, no, this is over with, right?
Yes.
And so you pull away and start putting your clothes on?
Yes.
So let me ask you this. When you said no and you kind of pushed away, did Mr. Winslow grab you and pull you back to him?
No.
Okay, did Mr. Winslow slap you or hit you in any way?
No.
Did he threaten you? Did he say, you know, if you don't do anything, I'm going to kill you?
No.
Right? So you said no and he let go,
Yes.
right? And then you walked down, he started putting his clothes on, I take it?
I wasn't paying attention to him, just putting my clothes back on.
Okay. And you felt kind of weird, to say the least?
Yes.
You went, so this was upstairs, right? You
Yes.
recall that. You walked down the stairs and Nikki's still there.
Yes.
So when you walked down the stairs, were you crying?
No.
Were you upset?
Yes.
Okay, so you're upset. Yes?
Yes.
And your friend Nikki, you guys are pretty tight at this time?
Yes.
Think that she's a pretty good judge of your emotions?
Yes.
Could she tell, if you know, right, if you know, could she tell that you were upset?
I don't know.
Did you tell her, hey, I feel pretty stupid, or I want to get out of here?
Yes.
Okay, you do remember that.
Yes.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, if you know, there's you coming down the stairs and you go right down next to Nikki, you sit down on the couch like you said, and you say, hey, you know, we gotta go.
Yes.
That's expressing a little bit of concern or upset on your part, wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
So you made it clear to her that you were upset.
Yeah.
All right. On the ride away from, so was Mr. Winslow in the room when you told her you had to go?
I don't remember.
Who was in the room with you?
There's other people in there. It was just me and her sitting on the couch. I wasn't acknowledging anybody else. Just know that I was telling Nikki that we should go.
Okay, so, but there could have been other people in the room, you just don't know?
Correct.
And it's very likely that Mr. Winslow, I mean, you don't know because you didn't remember, but Mr. Winslow could have been in the room also?
Correct.
But from your memory of that particular event, nobody tried to stop you from leaving, correct?
No.
Nobody
Hang on
tried.
for a minute. I'm not sure what the answer is. The question was, but from your memory of that particular event, no one tried to stop you from leaving, correct? And you said no. Does that mean what he said is not correct? Or nobody tried to stop you from leaving?
Nobody tried to stop us from leaving.
Okay, I just want to make sure the answer is clear. So if you phrase it in a negative and add correct at the end and she says no, I'm just not sure.
Yeah.
You understand, right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Carlos.
Okay, so then you get into the car with Nikki and you drive home?
We go back to her place.
Okay, so on the ride from the house to Nikki's house, we're still talking about the first incident here. You didn't say that Mr. Winslow tried to force himself on you, did you?
I did not.
Right, because he didn't.
He did not.
Right. And you didn't say that, all you did talk about was, you know, his friend Matt came in. Did you tell her that?
Yes. And
that you weren't cool with it?
Correct.
Right. So there's about 2 weeks go by. This is 2003. Sort of pre-everybody having a cell phone thing, right?
Yes.
So you didn't have Mr. Winslow's phone number?
I did not.
You didn't give him your phone number?
I did not have a cell phone.
Okay. Had you found out who he was between the first and the second incident?
I did not.
Okay. You never asked anybody?
No.
Didn't ask your friend Nikki who that guy was?
I mean, I asked her how, does Chris know him? And she said they went to school together.
Okay. So it's your memory that Nikki didn't say anything about Mr. Winslow being a college football player, potentially a pro football player?
No.
Right. So 2 weeks pass, you see from your direct testimony, you guys are, I think, leaving a party, and you see Mr. Winslow and Matt coming by you in a car.
We were leaving the party, and we see Chris, Matt, and Kellen. They were walking towards the house, and then we waved them down.
Okay, when you say we, did you wave them down?
No, Nikki waved them down.
Okay, did you say, hey, Nikki, don't wave that guy down because he did some weird stuff to me last time?
No, we were waving down Chris.
Okay.
I didn't think anything of it.
You saw the guy that you were with 2 weeks earlier, right?
Yes.
I mean, it was your, what you wanted to do was be with that person that you were with 2 weeks earlier. Isn't that fair to say?
No.
Okay, no?
What do you mean by be with them?
Well, I mean, make contact with them, party, do whatever,
Like
socialize.
hang out, yes.
So I guess the point is, from the first incident to the second incident, there was nothing about Mr. Winslow that caused you any concern or any fear, correct?
Correct.
Because otherwise you wouldn't have waved him down,
Yes.
right? So you see the guy, you're attracted to him, at least attracted to him enough the first time to have sex with him. You see him again, and you wave him down, correct?
Yes.
All right, so you are all talking, figuring out what the next place to go to is, right?
Yes.
And sometimes there's parties and sometimes there's not. Agree?
Yes.
And somebody says that we should go to this condo or the house.
No. First, we said we should meet at a gas station to figure it out because the police were heading to the party we were at the time we saw them.
Okay. So is this when did you get to the gas station?
Right after we left the first party.
Okay. And you did, so we're clear, you did all your drinking at the first party.
Correct.
And I think you said in your prelim testimony that you drank the 2 or 3 beers in about an hour at the party, right?
Yes.
What time did the party let out?
I don't remember.
Do you mean if it was a late party or an early party?
I'm sure it was a late party.
So if the police are coming to break it up, maybe what, 10, 11, somewhere in there?
11.
11 o'clock? Give or take?
Yeah.
Right. So you have been drinking from 10 to 11 or drinking from 9 to 10, if you recall?
I want to say 10 to 11.
Okay. So that wasn't the first time you ever had any alcohol, I take it?
No, it's not.
No, I mean, you're a teenager at the time and you go to parties and there's alcohol, correct?
Yes.
And you drink beer at the time.
Yes.
And you said previously in your testimony that you knew that 3 is kind of your limit, so you try to always keep it to 3?
Yes.
All right. But on this particular occasion, when you left the house after drinking for an hour or so, strike that. You didn't, 15 years ago, do you think you were keeping track of time that you were drinking?
I'm sorry.
15 years ago, you're 17 years old, right?
Okay.
Do you think that you're looking at your clock to figure out how much time I've been drinking for?
No.
So this is kind of like your best estimate, right?
Yes.
But you know personally from your own experience that 3 was kind of your limit, right?
Yes.
And 2 or 3 beers is kind of what you would do when you were at sort of parties.
Yes.
Fair? Is that fair for me to say?
Yes.
Okay. So that's more or less what you're basing the memory on, right?
Yes.
But you know also, well, you know what more than 3 beers does to you, I take it?
Yes.
Especially back when you were 17.
Yes.
So you know that evening, or you would recall whether or not you were I use the term sloppy drunk, right?
I'm sorry, can you ask the question again?
Yeah, I mean, you know what a sloppy drunk is like, right?
Yes.
Okay, you weren't a sloppy drunk,
No.
right? You weren't falling over.
No.
You weren't, slurring your words.
No.
I mean, people weren't saying, Miss Doe, we can't, you're wasted. Nobody told you that, did they?
Not that I know of, no.
Because you weren't.
Yes.
Okay. So you go into the parking lot, right? And that's at the parking lot at the gas station, and that's where the photo's taken, right?
Yes.
Is it 154? What's the photo? The photo. So the photo of you and Mr. Winslow was taken in the parking lot of the gas station, correct?
Yes.
And you said it was Nicole that took the picture of you.
Yes.
Right. So did you ask Nicole to take a picture of you?
I believe so.
Okay. Because you're having a good time.
Yes.
Right. And Mr. Winslow there, does he appear the way he did that evening?
Yes.
He's in a bag of potato chips sitting in his car, right?
Yes.
You guys are just chilling in the parking lot
At the gas
at
station.
the gas station, right?
Yes.
And you appear to be pretty happy. You got a smile on your face.
It's a photo. You smile. So yes.
I mean, were you sad when you took the
No.
picture?
No.
No, I mean, you had no reason to be, right?
No.
I mean, you were with your friends, you know, you thinking about some other place to socialize with, right?
Yes.
And you feel comfortable around Mr. Winslow, despite what happened to you 2 weeks ago.
Correct.
Right. Do you appear, I mean, you know yourself, right? Do you appear to be intoxicated there?
Not like sloppy drunk. No.
Okay, take it down, thanks. And once again, nothing liquid or solid into your stomach between the party and the house.
No.
That's I always say that. It's a bad way to answer. You would agree with me that there was that you had no liquid or solid food into your system from the house, from the party, all the way to the house.
No liquid, solid food from the party to the house.
Okay. So, you also testified during the preliminary hearing that you were feeling buzzed. Remember using that term?
Yes.
Okay. During direct, the prosecutor asked you whether you were starting to feel the effects of alcohol. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay, but you would agree that there's a difference between being buzzed and a difference between being drunk.
Correct.
And you know your terminology even. I mean, you call, you know what it is when you call yourself buzzed versus drunk, right?
Yes.
And you would agree with me that during the preliminary hearing, when you testified under oath, you never said that you were drunk,
I did not say I was drunk.
right? And the most you said that you felt a little buzzed.
Yes.
And by buzzed, I'm assuming what you mean by that is you're still kind of in control. I mean, you feel good.
Yes.
Right? I mean, you're able to walk.
Yes.
You're able to talk.
Yes.
Right? You had no problems with, you know, coordination or muscle control?
I did not.
Okay. Because you would have remembered that.
Yes.
So what's significant about this is if you were, you know, like, I'll use the word trashed, right? I mean, falling down drunk, you would have remembered that, right?
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled, you can answer.
I wouldn't, I mean, if I was that intoxicated, I wouldn't remember that.
But in this particular case, you remember everything leading up to the couch, right?
I remember the bathroom and the couch,
Right.
but I don't remember walking into the home.
That's the point I'm making, but you remember everything from that evening, from the party all the way to the bathroom and couch.
Yes.
You remember most of the details.
Yes.
You remember pretty much what you had to drink, right?
Yes.
And you remember the fact that nobody else gave you anything. You remember that, right?
Yes.
You remember all the people that were there, right? All the people that you were involved with.
Yes.
Their names, right?
Yes.
What they were driving.
Yes.
And you recall the sequence of events, you know, about being, you know, going from this location to the Jack in the Box, then to the gas station, and then to the house. You recall all of that.
Yes.
So it's fair for me to say that you were probably not, you know, falling down drunk during that period of time.
I was not.
And then for some reason, you just went blank.
Yes.
Just like that. Just,
I went to the restroom. I started to feel the effects of it, the alcohol. Trying to drink some water from the tap, use the bathroom to like help some of this alcohol relieve from my body. splashing water on my face. So I knew in that bathroom that I may have overdrank the amount that I had, or the beer that I had.
Did you tell anybody?
No,
Did you tell Mr. Winslow, hey, I'm really feeling the effects of this alcohol?
not that I remember.
Did you tell that to Matt?
Not that I remember.
Did you tell it to Nikki? Before
Nikki
she
at
left?
that point was not there.
No, before Nikki, when you partied with Nikki, did you tell her that you were starting to feel the effects of alcohol?
I wasn't feeling it until the bathroom.
Okay. So at the bathroom then, looking in the mirror, you were able to make it from the bathroom. You remember Mr. Winslow knocking on the door saying, hurry up?
Yes.
So then you walk back and sit on the couch.
I don't remember walking back to the couch.
Okay, you remember being on the couch.
Yes.
So there's a break between the bathroom and the couch.
Yes.
Right? So somehow you went from the bathroom to the couch and you don't remember.
Correct.
Looking down at the fabric, and the next thing you know, then Mr. Winslow's behind you.
I remember seeing Matt and Kellen in the kitchen while I was sitting on the couch,
Okay, what were they doing in the kitchen?
just talking.
Okay, they drinking anything? Just look.
Not that I can see or remember.
What was did anything about Mr. Winslow? Like, was he wearing the same clothes that you saw in the picture?
Yes.
All right. How about Matt?
I remember him wearing blue jeans.
Okay. And you saw them speak for maybe a minute or so, and then that's it.
Correct.
And then the next thing you know, I'm going back to your preliminary hearing testimony. You were on all fours, right?
Yes.
You weren't lying down flat.
I was not.
So you were on all fours. Mr. Winslow was behind you,
Yes.
right? And then the way you described it in your preliminary hearing, and I think here in direct testimony, is Matt lying down in front of you with his legs spread and he has no clothes on.
Yes.
Okay? And Mr. Winslow has you by the back of the hair and he's forcing your face into Matt's crotch.
Yes.
Matt says, well, you say no, right?
I say stop.
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 Okay. And that's what you recall, saying stop.
Yes.
And then you push against him, the way you described it, you pushed against him with the palms of your hand backwards on its thighs.
Yes.
So with both hands?
With both of my hands.
So did you then lie face down?
Yes.
Do that?
So my face is now against the bed and my hands pushing against his thighs.
Okay. And is that when you were able to see well, I take it Matt's crotch was out of the way by then, right?
Matt had moved.
Matt had moved, okay. And you were then able to see the video camera at that point?
No.
Okay, you said when you were looked over that you didn't see a video camera then?
After Matt moved out of the way, Kellen flipped me onto my back. And that's when I looked to the left, and that's when I saw the camera.
Okay. And how many people were behind the camera?
I saw one shadow. Like, I didn't see the person's face. I just saw a shadow of a body to the left of me and a camera in front of it.
And they were standing in the doorway or they were standing in the room?
There was a window to the left, and he was standing in front of the window.
Okay, so then is your testimony that then Matt said, just stop, dude, just stop?
Yes.
Right? You sure it was Matt that said that?
I believe it was him.
Okay. And then Mr. Winslow, according to your testimony, then stopped,
Yes.
right? And backed away from you, right?
Yes.
And then it's your testimony that Matt comes to you and starts helping you get dressed,
Yes.
all right? Now, you would agree with me under this situation that Matt is essentially one of your rapists if this happened the way you said it did.
Objection argumentative.
Overruled.
Yes?
You can answer.
Yes.
I mean, you didn't want to have your face in Matt's crotch, right?
Correct.
Matt had his clothes off, right?
Correct.
Matt was lying naked, with his legs spread, while in your version, Mr. Winslow is having his ramming your face in there, right?
Objection argumentative.
Sustained, you don't need to answer.
Okay.
Well,
You can rephrase.
point is, Matt, right? Matt's telling the person to stop, correct?
Yes.
And Matt is now coming to your assistance.
Yes.
Matt is helping you get dressed.
Yes.
And you have any problem with Matt helping you?
I'm just in shock.
Okay. I'm just asking, did you have any problem with Matt helping you?
No.
Okay. Matt then helps you get your clothes on, right?
Yes.
Are Matt's clothes on? Right
Yes.
now? So he then picks you up, according to your testimony, right?
Yes.
Right. Were you on the bed when he picked you up, or were you standing? How did that happen?
I was sitting on the edge of the bed.
Okay. He helped you get your clothes on. What did he do? Pull your pants up?
He helped me stand so I can pull my pants up.
Okay. And did he give you your shirt to wear?
I had my shirt. He handed me my shirt.
Okay. So then, did he say something to you?
I don't remember.
Okay. So it's your testimony then that he picked you up, right?
Yes.
And then walked you down the stairs.
I don't remember any stairs. I just remember a door opening into a garage.
Okay. What you remember though is Matt carrying you from the bed to the garage.
Yes.
And I guess the door opened. You didn't see anybody on the way though, right?
I did not.
You didn't see Mr. Winslow.
I did not.
Didn't see the guys anybody with a video camera.
I did not.
And didn't see whether or not there was any people milling about.
I did not.
So you get into once again, Matt still has you in his hands, and you walk into the garage. You remember a white BMW, right?
I remember the emblem. I remember the emblem on the steering wheel.
Do you remember it was white?
I don't remember.
You remember testifying in the preliminary hearing that it was a white BMW.
I don't remember.
Don't remember that offhand?
I don't.
Is that something that you were unclear of now?
No.
Aaron, we're at about 12 o'clock right now. Think we
Is it
can
time to
that-
take a break?
Yeah, I mean, I've got
All right.
a little bit.
We'll go ahead and take our afternoon recess. We'll be in recess until 1:30. Please remember the admonition, don't discuss the case with anybody. We'll see you all back here right at 1:30. Have a nice lunch.